Zero, I should say. Troy teams, they always mix me up. 73% of you back in G2. Massive kind of swing for the community. They know how this game has gone in the past. A rematch of the EML finals between VIRTUS.PRO and G2, and we kick it off on a brand new map for VP. Already the respect being shown here in chat, and we'll see if that continues going forward. I know the guys on G2 have been liking a bit of text chat so far this event, so if that does keep up, then we'll see if VP respond in kind. Not a very vocal team on the defense to start things off. VIRTUS.PRO will typically just close that text chat and not like to respond. The Mira banned out. That was their first ban when they played against Dark Zero 2 days ago, coming through from G2. They followed it up with an Echo in their previous matchup, but they will move to the Kaid. I think that is a more standard ban, and I think a very good ban up against VP.
Yeah, I mean, you get rid of one hard breacher, or you get one of the breach denials, and you get rid of a hard breacher here on Bank. That's pretty standard stuff. Nothing really that abnormal. I will say, Jesse, it has been eternity since I have casted Dan competing against G2. For the longest time, these two were the titans at the very top of Europe. VIRTUS.PRO, obviously, at the time having an all-Russian roster. They have a new identity now, and the team is still quite good. In fact, you mentioned that they faced off against G2 in the AML finals. Granted, G2 did have their way with them in that matchup.
Yep.
But some teams don't take that as seriously as they will here, knowing that their spot on the main stage is on the line.
Exactly. That was a seeding match between G2 and VIRTUS.PRO, and of course for prize money, SI points, and bragging rights, but this one will be the one that people remember. This is the one that counts, at least in terms of qualifying to top 8 here in Salt Lake City. You mentioned Dan briefly, Parker, and he's going to be a big focus for me here on these first 6 rounds, because defense-wise, he has been incredible. A 233 KDR on the defense through the tournament so far. That is the best of any player here in Salt Lake City, so watch out for Dan. He's likely to be the top fragger for VP through these first 6 rounds.
So we'll keep all eyes on Dan and his utility. Pasha will roam. This will be my first time casting another player named Skies as well, Jesse. Just as a side note here, I'm so used to casting Alex, as he was known, the world champion who won with Elevate way back in the day and had a long tenured and storied career as a bit of a journeyman over in North America. We wish him well in his retirement. He's been playing some T2 stuff. There's a new Skies in town. He'll likely be playing to enable his team in far enough away as Pasha's the first one involved in some action, but scares away these G2 players, then falls back himself. Dungeon Master looking to capitalize off of that, but is unable to find anything.
This is frankly a really cool defense from VIRTUS.PRO. They brought the Castle, which is not an operator often seen here on the bottom floor of Bank, and they've used it to kind of extend onto this mid floor, given a bit more of an aggressive look over towards G2. Not content to just sit with their utility down in the bomb site. They're going to be looking for some early gunfights, hoping to stall out this clear a bit, and there it is. Dan, the man of the hour, finds the opening frag to Doki.
Not exactly the start you want as Deimos. Dan, of course, involved in this is always a good thing. You highlighted those numbers just moments ago. Now it's Skies lined up with a Nitro Cell. He manages to get Shaiko. He took the body, he took the man, not the utility. Skies could have another as well. This is a good defense from VP, whether it's that castle slowing them down or a lack of utility. G2 is just bottomed out on this entry.
Yeah, that mute jammer from Skies means it's going to be really hard to push him out. Benja can't see him on the snake, so it gets really awkward to clear this roam position. He is a bit caught. He doesn't have a good rotate back to site, and he's likely dead here to Benja, but no! What? Loses the fight. Skies so good with the SMG-11.
0 damage done to him up till that point. Stompin will find a little bit. Skies on a rampage. Alimau shot down, and it's Stompin in a 1v5. This is not the start that G2 wanted whatsoever. These are both very good attacking teams on this map. The defender win rate for VP, not very good. You wouldn't know it after that one. A flawless start and a 4K from Skies. Good lord.
Really good to see Skies bouncing back, Parker. He was the MVP of the team back in their opening match versus Shopify Rebellion. Dropped 15 kills his first game in Salt Lake City, but he hasn't had a really strong game since. Has gone negative or even every game since that first one versus SR. So starts off 4-0 here roaming on Bank. And again, I want to highlight that utility play. The big problem with roaming in 2026 is that you've got Deimos, you've got Dokkaebi, you've got Snake. The attackers have so many tools to find your position and clear you out, but because he's playing on the mute, he can set those jammers down. He can avoid a lot of that utility, and so it meant that Snake in particular really was struggling to find that pick onto Skies, I should say. The vert play was
You got
excellent, but it was not quite good enough to come
You
through
got
from
it.
G2. So really strong start from VP.
Yeah, and I mean, all of it enabled by that castle as well. G2 just trickling in one by one. They broke the door. They were looking for a 3-2-1 go onto that teller's portion of the map. I think they were just a little bit too behind there, and it will be their undoing. A castle being brought again. So G2 will once again have to confront those bulletproof barricades. And we do say that because Glass does not shoot through them anymore. That was a long time ago. Did require us to change up our language a little bit on that gadgetry, but
Yep.
still. Nook being brought by Doki. He had a pretty lousy first round, picked off right away. This is a great Nook map.
Yeah. It was Alamau who was playing this operator so often in their last game against DZ here on this map. So a bit of a change up now. Alamau on the snake getting in very early top floor. Finds a couple of bodies, but no heads, Parker.
And they've got another now over on the stairs. Dan leading things off again, and it's a mirror matchup. Dan versus Doki. It'll happen twice. Pasha guns down Alimau. The Nook Gambit that we were excited to see will end up doing nothing. 45 seconds into the round, and G2 have already fallen on their face.
Yeah, yet to find a single kill in this match, Parker. Uncharacteristic for G2. Their weakest start to a game so far at the Salt Lake City Major. In a 3v5 now, a bit of ability to work some picks back. They've got top floor control. That roam clear, it was very costly, but at least they take some space from it. VIRTUS.PRO deciding they're happy to give up this control despite the fact that Benja's up here on the ram, and maybe a mistake. Great shot from Benja to come through and get the first frag of the game for G2.
Down goes Nako, but passive gadgetry, those mute jammers will still exist with how much intel operators being brought by G2. You have to imagine those mute jammers will come in very effective, especially at stopping those death marks from Shaiko. He's still got 2 remaining in pocket. Soft destruction and hard destruction will round out the G2 operator lineup at the moment as we hit the halfway point in the round. Shaiko is very close to being able to pull something off, but he loses the duel to Pasha. What is going on with G2? Stompin trades it back, tied with Alimau for the best rated player on the team. He and Benja will need to do some serious work. The Dane will get another. It's a dead drop, shot down by Skies. Neither of the 2 remaining players on VP have died. Stompin's got a minute to work through this, Jesse, but it's not looking good.
Lots of time for the youngster, still 19 years old, looking to get this clutch here. It would be a critical round to win versus VP. He's a late round player. This is his role. This is why they have him existing so long in these rounds. The drone is good, but the shots need to be too.
I mean, that DMR does hit like a truck. Playing keep away. Anti-work for Stompin as he destroys the cubicles. Freeing himself from the chains of the corporate world. I'm sorry, I didn't think he was going to win anything. Skies gets the final kill. G2 unable to muster anything on those first 2 rounds. VP off to a screaming hot start.
Yeah, a bit frustrating coming through from G2 because, again, this is a map that VIRTUS.PRO have not shown at all, but G2 have had a bit of history on. And you go back to that Nook play from Doki that really started things off, creeping up those lobby stairs. On one hand, that's kind of an unexpected play. You know, Nook doesn't see a lot of pick rate presence here at the 6th Major coming through. We don't see a lot of that Nook, but it was played twice by Alamau on that very bomb site just 2 days ago. I mean, that is a strategy that G2 have shown in the past. So, of course, VP were ready for it. They weren't just relying on visual aid to stop anyone walking up the spiral staircase. Ended up being some really early deaths from Doki and Alamau now in both rounds, but particularly that second round. And then you kind of get into this awkward space where you don't have the man count. You have good information. You saw it with the player just on the open area wall. There was a drone inside of Printer that was staring at his position the whole time, but they still only go 1 for 1 on the trade. That has to be a clean frag when you have the intel advantage. Even when G2 are setting themselves up into good positions, they're not capitalizing on them. And this early tack timeout from Ramalho, I think, makes me seem a little bit worried for this team.
Oh, I didn't know you were a G2 fan.
Listen, I want a good game between these teams, Parker, and the way G2 is playing at the moment, we're not going to get a good competitive game.
Bank has the most rounds played here in Salt Lake City, and it is overwhelmingly attacker-favored. It is one of only 2 attacker-favored maps at the moment. It is also very utility-based. 17 plants have gone down. And yeah, 56% of all the rounds on Bank won by the attackers. That almost mirrors G2's win rate on this map over the last 7 times that they've played it. 58, almost 59% for G2. So obviously losing those 2 bomb sites, really quite detrimental. And what gives me a little bit more concern is that while we haven't seen VIRTUS.PRO play that much of this map, their defender win rate is downright miserable. A 39% defender win rate for VP on this map. and you wouldn't know it looking at these score lines.
Yeah, but again, like, it's a new team. They've made some roster moves since the last time they played it, and I think it really does speak to that new identity that Virtus.Pro wanted to bring into the 2026 season. We're seeing that live now in this oh-so-important game versus G2. It's only 2-0, and the tack time has just been called. I don't want to ring the alarm bells yet. It's also VP's pick, so it's a long series. Don't panic yet, Stompin' fans, but certainly the start that VP were dreaming of. Now they go to the top floor, and this is going to be a bit of an awkward spot because Pasha has brought this bandit. It's going to make the elevator wall very difficult to open up on the side of G2. They've got Stompin' here in the Dokkaebi to try to accomplish that goal, but they'll need some nades or some other utility to find those bandit batteries before they can get the wall opened. VP, no roam down below, nothing too aggro, just happy to play behind their utility to start.
And we've seen teams rock this on the top floor of Bank when a Kaid gets banned out. You have to bring the Bandit. The good news is the Bandit has a terrific gun as well. So in the hands of Pasha, with all the noise he's been able to make, finding his select kills, you've got a good utility operator and a good fragging operator. That wall that is now being dealt with that, oh my goodness, manages to stay closed, is affectionately referred to as Kanto Spot, named after the G2 player of Kanto when he used to play that double barricaded wall with Echo.
Yep.
Now, G2 will have to confront a part of the map named after one of their former players.
Oh, long shot from Doki. He finds the body of Skies for his first frag of the game.
Target.
That is a really important kill. Was 6-0 before that moment, but now things get awkward. Shaiko has to walk up these spiral stairs. The wall is closed, so this position will be very tough to clear out for the Frenchman.
The skylight drop, which has become far more common here on Bank. They've got another DMR in hands of Stompin', looking for a mistake for Rorik to commit. So many players on the side of VP whose names we haven't said because they haven't really done anything. Jesse Rorik is definitely one of them. Pasha will eliminate Shaiko and go for a drop. He might be able to get a nice flank off. Paused for a moment as the Lion scan will go. He missed him. He sees one. He sees one. Cuts him off a wire. Oh my goodness. Target dummies falling abound. Bodies hitting the floor. Benjamaster now in a 1v4 outside on Repel. This round has not gone any better for G2, and it's Rorik to seal the deal. A perfect start and a perfect rotation for Virtus.Pro.
This has been clinical from VP, Parker. Just perfect util play. The fact that you stick the bandit trick there from Pasha, absolutely incredible. And honestly, really heartbreaking stuff for G2. I mean, they didn't think that that wall was going to be such a big problem. They only brought those EMPs. They had the Capital bolts, but none of it was enough. Really bold play to stick the bandit trick, and once that wall stays closed, once the cancel wall is no longer an option to get angles open, it just becomes so difficult. The crossfire was too strong. The drop down as well with the Aruni punch. I mean, every plan that VP had there was perfectly crafted to counter what G2 wants to do on that push. And after the tack timeout, you go down such devastating result, you have to be better than that.
Absolutely. This one in particular, I don't even know if he saw the player hanging on Repel. That was, who was that? Yeah, that was Alina. I don't know if he saw that one or not, but I mean, you got two players like Spider-Man, Peter Parker himself, hanging off a web in the middle of the lobby, and none of them looking for a potential flank. It was a shrewd and smart move from Virtus.Pro, and they are absolutely dog-walking G2.
6 kills from Skies, 4 from Pasha, 4 from Dan. I mean, it has really just been a masterclass from the fraggers on VP. Neko, the hard support IGL, still left off the kill feed, but that's exactly where he wants to be. We've talked about this with other IGLs, Parker, where sometimes you look at guys like Vidiking, guys like Canadian. If everything is going to plan, they should not be fragging, and that's exactly what's happened so far from Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, I mean, Neko is not seeing any real minutes at all.
Yeah.
The only time we saw him was, I want to say, when he played Mute in round number 2, if memory serves correctly, and then he was a bit more forward, but beyond that, this VP team doing very well. Obviously, the kills will tell the whole story. 15-4 in terms of the fragging department. G2 not even putting up a fight as we enter the 4th round. Averaging just a little over 1 kill per round is not going to get the job done. That's the type of thing that you might see at a team in play-ins.
Yep.
That's not the thing you expect of the top team coming out of EML.
And on one hand, I like the mute ban coming through from G2. It's going to enable this roam clear. That was the big problem operator that Skies was playing back in round number 1 when they got their flawless start to this game. But on the other hand, Parker, VP don't have to roam anymore. They see the mute ban. They say, that's fine. Bring your Snake. Bring your Deimos. We're going to go sit inside the bomb site. A much more passive approach coming through from VP. Opportunities maybe for guys like Skies to get aggressive at some points in this round, but really they are not looking to take aggressive fights. They're happy to shoot some drones, hold their angles, and fall back with all of their utility in sight. Toxic Babes, Tachanka fire grenades, everything they could possibly want to lock down this plant spot will be here. And it's going to kind of slow things down for G2, show them a different approach that they're not used to, and force them to work with this utility. I'll mention as well, without the Hibana, they've been forced to bring 3 sets of can openers, which could be restricting the operators they want to bring for this attack.
This reminds me of a very old bank. And when I say old bank, I mean Stompin' fans weren't even born at this point in time. That's how old it was.
Yeah.
When there were only 3 hard breachers, Thermite, Hibana, and Maverick. And if you banned one of those hard breachers, you were doomed. You'd have to bring 2 at minimum, and if one of them died early, just like the olden days when it was just Thermite and Thatcher, you were kind of screwed for this bottom floor execute. There's just so many reinforcements you have to deal with.
Now, I will say, G2 have brought good site utility. They've got the Sens from Stompin' to lock off angles. They've got the Ying from Alamau to blind players, of course. And even Shaiko on this scrim will have some Bs to spot out player utility. So they've got good tools to make this execute work, but so do VIRTUS.PRO. This push is going to be messy, it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be really important that G2 find other angles to get frags in this push, because they likely won't be able to get that defuse get down on the ground with all of these plant denial ops.
Far and away the slowest round for both of these teams, and honestly, that's credit to VP for playing more static defense here, as Dan will quarterback this play from a position that we often see a Pulse play in. The Solus will be there, so Dan will be able to give some information to his teammates. Deimos target going out, Snake walking in, Benja missing all of his shots, Skies cuts him down, now the Deimos of Doki, empty-handed over in Garage, looking to push over towards Vault, but the cross is there as well. He gets Skies, they was hoping for a response from VP, they almost get Doki. 20 seconds left, Jesse, 8 players still on the board, make that 7. Nako tears through Doki, Alimau getting diffuser down. Dan will give that information, not before he kills Stompin' in the process, and there goes the rest of G2. Good Lord, I wasn't aware we were going to a funeral so early this morning.
Parker, it's been rough to witness for G2 fans. I mean, everything they're trying to do is failing. I think they recognize the defense setup from VP very nicely there. They didn't just try to work a plant in through servers. That's good. That's not something that would have worked for them. They had a lot of different angles in that push. They had a player on Gold Hatch. They had a player dropping Elevator Hatch. They had a player on Main Stairs. Every angle you could want for that push, they had someone there. The problem is, if you just have individual players in those positions, once they lose their gunfights, there's no potential for a trade. And G2, they don't lose their gunfights very often. This is not a common problem, but today they're getting outmanned, outgunned at all moments, and they're just not able to hit the shots that we're used to seeing from them. Alamau eventually was in a plant position there, but it just didn't matter with all of his teammates falling around him. They couldn't win a fight to save their lives, and VP have been looking so good on those defenses.
A reminder, this is VIRTUS.PRO's map, but they are defending first.
Yes.
Usually the assumption is that when it is your map, you will go to an early deficit. That is not the case here. And again, I hate to bring these numbers up. VP, downright bad on bank defense historically, a sub 40% win rate. That is well below the margins that we usually see. Typically when we talk about sides, Jesse, it's a 44 to 56 at absolute most.
Sure.
So to see G2's stats on this map, very formidable on attack, almost a 60% attacker win rate, and almost a 40% defender win rate for VP. This is abnormal to say the least.
You definitely got to question G2's decision to start on the attack here. I just made sure that was correct. Indeed it was. Here comes the push top square. Stompin' finds the opening frag here on the Blackbeard. The blitz in as well. Alamau catching the retreat. No, not quite. It's Pasha instead who deals the damage, and it's a 4-3 lead for G2.
Very early push for G2, and it is working out in spades. For the first time, they have a numbers advantage. Pasha will say no. He's at 7 kills. Sky's at 7 kills. G2 combining for 7 kills themselves. So you're going to be going up against some juggernauts. And oh, by the way, Dan is yet to die. 6-0. Great on defense, but he has not been the star of this show so far, Jesse.
No, I mean, there have been multiple stars here, Parker. There's really been no bad performance for VP. G2, maybe the best look they've had so far, though. This is a decent start for them. It's not an easy round. It's not free at this point, but they've got a 3v3 even man count spot, and I like their tools. Stompin' on the Blackbeard, Shaiko on the Deimos, and then Benja up top on this Ram. It's going to make positions uncomfortable for VIRTUS.PRO down in the bottom floor. Here's Skies in the same position where he got his 4K in round 1, but with this Ram up above, it is very scary to play here.
A very ballsy play by him to assess the damage done by the Ram. Benja Master was able to get a couple picks on this ram from that same spot when it was the open area bomb site. He will stare down a very familiar part of this map as he's assumed the position. Dan is waiting for the drop. If they can catch him, this would be a huge pick for G2. They'll use one of their death marks to isolate Pasha. Maybe a flash as a drop could come in from small office. The Blackbeard will land. It's all up to Skies to clutch out. He gets one. No defuse kit for G2 as they hold the lead and they hold the numbers advantage. Nitro Cell goes out. He lets it rip. He's downed him. Now it's all up to him and Shaiko. Shaiko finally getting on the board. Skies looking to break double digits, but he's got Shaiko on his heels. Finally, G2 win the round. That's a big motivator, and Shaiko needed to get in the game.
Yep.
Dropping a donut up until that round. 2 kills for the Frenchman, and G2 will avoid getting swept in this first half.
Yeah, he was late to the party, Parker, but Shaiko's arrival in this game could not have come at a more critical moment. Stops that potential clutch coming through from Skies and just working around his teammates really nicely in that 3v3. It was a great push altogether with, of course, that drop coming through from Stompin. He's the one player who can safely drop that stock hatch because he's got that big shield in front of him. Unfortunate loss from Benja. Again, Skies has been so good today. That Nitro again, it's just incredible play from Skies, but Shaiko, when he is required to, hits the shots and manages to win that 1v1 clutch. Really big stuff to get G2 on the board.
And honestly, it really does come down to how quickly they were able to roam, or how quickly they were able to cut down on the roam.
Yeah.
Right? We finally saw a good execute here. And honestly, Jesse, a lot of these kills have been coming really, really early, with the exception of the 4th round. Every first blood has been spilled before the halfway point of the round. Most of them within the first minute. So G2 bringing a Blackbeard as their main point, bringing an escort with it, isolating these top 4 players, and then pushing them back down into the bomb site. You might not have come away with a player lead, but you gained so much map control, and ultimately you didn't lose that much utility in the process. That's what we like to see from G2. And they've got one more attempt now on attack before they go to a side that statistically they're not as well practiced on. Oh my goodness. Benja almost gets a golden opportunity for 2. Sky's taking some damage, and VP get away with their lives and heads still intact.
Well, with Habana and Ace banned out, they can't try what they did last time with that Kanto wall, so that wall's going to stay closed no matter which way you cut it. Now G2 will need a different approach. They brought Alamau here on the Thermite, so it looks like it's going to be a top square plant coming through from G2. He repels in now and will begin to get this wall open. I'm always worried about the clash for this style of defense, Parker. Nako will be able to position himself over towards top square, running through the hallway now, and this is going to make it really difficult for G2 to actually push in. They got the breach open, which is excellent, but making your way from their current positions into the bomb site through that breach is a whole nother ballgame.
Depending on the calls here from Nako, they could punish Alimau as Stompin and Rorik come to blows. A double stack up now as Shaiko is in pursuit. Rorik playing off this angle. We've seen this time and time again. Out will go a Razor Bloom. Nice shot from Stomp, and he'll find a second through the wall. Down goes Pasha. G2 once again so formidable on this entry. This time though, Jesse, doing much better than the previous round.
Oh, almost an opportunity from Dan as the player jumps out the window. I believe it was Alamau trying to get that frag, but not quite going to be able to secure it. Stompin', this kid just looks magical sometimes. The kills he's able to secure. It's Doki who misses a couple of opportunities on Skies playing inside of Long Desk. A 2-man advantage should be good enough to execute, but they need to be sharp here for the last 75.
Shaiko debilitated by that Razor Bloom. Dan, a kill on to Doki. He was hanging on that cross outside of the bomb site. You'll need somebody to take up that position because it paralyzes the defenders, often known as cut or cross or mailbox. You're just going to sit there on repel and hope that somebody rotates over in a way that they're not expecting, and you punish them for it. So G2 will have Alimau go into this position. He was over by square stairs. Final minute of this first half, and it's G2 with the numbers advantage.
Stomp is really looking for something here, but it's Benja on Spiral that opens things up with the last 45. Nako goes down. It's an answer from Skies. There goes Stompin'. Alamau with the defuse kit inside sight. Can he plant here?
Skies breaking double digits, sees Shaiko over by stock trading and does not want to commit to this engagement. He gets torn asunder, and now it's Dan to clutch out. He wasn't successful previously. Dan, a great defensive player, but 3 monsters on G2. Plenty of time, and the attackers have the bomb site. Alimau might be quiet on the offense, but he's getting that defuse kit down, and it will now cause much greater heartache for this VP team. Dan isolated, and you can see G2 is lined up looking for him, licking their chops at this final kill. It'll be Alimau to do that. He'll go not killless this first half. Carl getting the exit frag in round number 6. G2 ultimately salvaging that first half. They desperately needed those 2 rounds. They get them, And now a mental reset for the second half.
Unlucky time, Benji. The timing was so bad, bro. When you
But,
went there, he dropped and killed me. Yeah.
I mean, it was because like my barricade was not
Guys,
open in
Yeah.
ATM.
I'm gonna talk to some things about like the attacks, okay? I think like for the attack on open area, guys, like I think like we can do again the same. I just think like you are kind of useless, Benji, like in the windows, and like they're gonna probably pick you lobby this round. So like if like we go for overtime, you're gonna need to attack 2 times. I think they're gonna go open area and go basement. I think they go open area, like you can do like the windows, the shields attack again. But if Benji still go in the windows, Benji go printer because the guy like the kitchen can also try to play the C4. Okay, so like you play on him, okay, Benji. So like you understand what I mean? And for basement, guys, I think like we actually could plant in the same time you were hitting the back. Okay, you just didn't have the plant. Okay, so like let's focus on these details, like in these like mini things that it make us lose the round. Like also like open area, we almost lose just because of the diffuser. Okay, so like let's communicate properly who has the diffuser, like who we're gonna plant there. You know, like who's gonna be alone in server. Okay, so like make sure we have everything going.
Bro, I don't think the shoot's gonna work again, bro. Like we rush because we surprised them. They have the Goyos. Like we just got them off guard, you know. They're gonna pop the Goyos. I think
like,
we do the same again.
Like Spider push not gonna work because we don't have the
Yeah,
high
I know.
features.
I'm just thinking, what should we do? You know, the banners are so hard. Like we could like do some like horizontal push. I think they have so much thing for top.
Bro, Ramal, you can think about it. They're gonna time out before they get there. If we get there, okay? So
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think about it. For the defenses, you want me to play the tube at the start and then do the kid tube thing, or should I just do as
Nick, we're gonna say fast in this one. Let's go.
Guys, if they go for server stairs, just play Thatcher and
They
Nikita.
will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nikita
Nikita will go Thatcher. No, Nikita will go Thatcher.
Listen, please, guys. I swear, I know. You just flash
No,
one
again.
close and flash one deep. That's it. The server guy is dead if you have Thatcher. That's it.
Let's go, guys. Just enjoy this game. Let's finish this shit. So easy.
Let's go.
Different vibes across the two teams a little bit there, Parker. Calmness from Dark, confidence exuding from the VP side of things. And again, you can tell with a little bit of that information advantage, not showing this map, they've caught them off guard so far in this game. It's allowed VP get a 4-2 lead, and they feel good about being able to close out these next 3 rounds on the attack.
I mean, if only it were that simple, eh?
Right.
Okay, we're going to flash the guy in the elevator and then we're going to kill him. Wow. You should tell my teammates that in ranked. I wish it was that simple. No, I mean, nothing has really been simple about this matchup for G2 in particular, Jesse. It was a hard-fought end of this series where they were finally able to pick up some much-needed kills. They eclipsed their kill total in just round 5 than they had in the first 3 rounds. G2 averaging just under 2 kills a round at the halfway point of that first half. Maybe they're not early risers. There have been a couple teams that have very openly said, we don't like playing the morning games. For some gamers, if you're staying up late, you're grinding, you're not sleeping, maybe you come online at 1, 2 o'clock once that particularly non-sponsored energy drink hits, or just coffee, I guess. So G2 finally settling into their groove. The one thing I will be looking out for, once again, are these numbers. G2 are a pretty good defending team, not as good as they are on attack, but VP is a very good attacking team on this map.
Yeah, of course, G2, they played 6 rounds earlier in this tournament defending on Bank. They won 4, they lost 2. If they can do that once again, they'll be headed to overtime when their opponent's pick. That is, frankly, a good result here in a best of 3. You don't need to win your opponent's map pick, but if you can, it puts you in a really strong position. So that'll be the goal for G2. Ban out the Monty, which is going to limit the options for Nako coming through on VIRTUS.PRO. He's played just a single attacking round since the tournament began, not on a shield. No player has a higher shield pick rate here at the tournament. 94% of rounds on a shield one way or another, so expect to see a lot of that coming through from Nako today.
Monty is most played operator as well, so I mean, now you've got to flex somewhere else. You can go to a Blitz, but you can go to a Blackbeard. They're all going to play very differently, and I know that the average viewer might not know how a Monty, a Blitz, a Fuse Shield even, and a Blackbeard do play, but Blackbeard is going to give, ooh, that's a rough one. Blackbeard's going to give you a bit more fragging potential and can be a more bona fide aggressive entry than a Monty or even a Blitz. Monty, you're usually not going to get a lot of kills. You referenced both Vidaking and Canadian. They're great examples of it. Most of their attacking rounds, they're going to play that operator, and they're not ever going to pull out their gun. So with Nako, he's going to be a little bit more active in the kill department, I have to imagine. Or at very minimum, he'll be set up to do so should he find himself in that situation.
Yeah, Nako is not the most passive shield player. You will absolutely see him ADSing when he needs to. As is pretty common here in the shield meta we're currently in. Shaiko, an early engagement. He deals a little bit of damage on the Pasha, the other side of things, but the Candela should force him back through the hatch. Indeed it does. An easy retreat from Shaiko. Never in any real danger there as we hit 90 seconds.
Shaiko's had a very quiet day. One thing as well to keep note of here, Jesse, is that Shaiko historically struggles the deeper into a tourney he goes. He'll farm the first couple rounds and still be a good player, but we don't often see him taking over games against tougher opponents. He has absolutely not taken over this game.
No.
He's sitting at 2 kills. The only player on the team below him right now is Alimau on a support role. So Shaiko needs some time in the lab to incubate, I suppose, as we now hit the 1-minute mark, and everybody is still alive.
Hard breaching hasn't gone to plan for VP. They didn't get the small office hatch open. Actually, they did just at the end there with the Hibana charge. So nicely done. All hatches open, even if it took every little bit of utility. The Kaid Claw slowed things down, but it hasn't prevented the entry from VIRTUS.PRO. 45 seconds, though, Parker. I'm looking at 2 Nitro Stealths still being held by G2. This push is going to get messy.
Didn't you say that when G2 attacked this site? And guess what?
It got messy.
It got messy. Jesse, doing his degree in messology over at the University of Alberta. Everybody's still alive. 30 seconds now. There we go. Benjamaster giving the first opportunity for Dan. He might have another on to Shaiko, and he will do just that. Easy enough for Dan, right? Pasha, the only casualty, now a sneak in through garage. Sky's looking to get in under the line of sight of G2. Alimau on the board, traded out immediately. VP back to the advantage. Rorik almost taken down as it's a 2v1. Messy is an understatement here. They gas out the last 2 members. Rorik will head for the hills. A massive round from Stompin to save it for G2. And the gap between these teams is now just 1 round.
A really scary push coming out from VIRTUS.PRO, Parker. It started so strong with Dan dropping the elevator hatch. You saw Doki going for, not Doki, Benja going for a bit of a look there in the early round. You could see that they were a little bit concerned about that. I don't think they realized how many players were going to hit the back. It got VP off to a very early start, but the reaction coming through from those late round players, it was the roommates, the friends, the travel compadres here headed to Salt Lake City, Doki and Stompin, that really locked things down here in the 2vx. They were able to work together so nicely on those critical anchor operators, and despite playing initially over on that server side, when they came back over to trade their teammates, they worked together beautifully, and they got G2 their first defense.
And again, it really does come down to time management, doesn't it? Hard breaching failed so early in the round. It bought G2 quite a bit of time. And sometimes 10, 15 seconds, hell, sometimes even 5 seconds can make a massive difference in this game. The amount of times that we see a last-minute clutch with the defuse kit down and somebody hops on the counter disable at 9, 8 seconds with just a second to spare is quite incredible. So if VP's not able to manage their time well and G2 is able to blunt their momentum when they get into the building, G2's going to set themselves up quite nicely.
And VP, in some sense, kind of enabled that play by not banning the Kaid. It's the most commonly banned operator here on Bank for the defense at the very least, and they leave it open, favoring the Clash and the Mira ban instead. Clash is obviously a favorite operator of Stompin. We know how good he is on that op, and we see Alimau playing the Mira from time to time on this map as well, but it's still surprising not to see that critical electricity operator not taken off the board from VIRTUS.PRO. Could be a target for them after we hit round 9, but that'll be a conversation for later in this game. For now, they've got to find ways around it. The Claw being used on the Kanto wall once again, so the problems that G2 faced opening that wall will continue to exist for VP.
A reminder, as we now settle into round number 8, G2 trailing VIRTUS.PRO by just a single round, 3 in a row now by G2 as they look to close this gap that the B stream is running at this particular point in time. Los playing against Weibo Gaming, all elimination matches over on the B stream. If you are a hater, you go hate watch B stream. That's just how it works, because you're going to see 3 teams go home. Here on the A stream, every single matchup will send one of these teams on to the main stage, which is currently being built just within arm's reach of our booth. We can see it take shape. Anticipating quite a crowd here on Friday to kick off the first day of the Salt Lake City Major, and the first American Major since Charlotte, technically, since Boston wasn't a major. Am I forgetting? Am I forgetting one?
I believe
Atlanta?
Atlanta. There you go.
Technically not Atlanta, technically Duluth, and not the Duluth you're thinking of. Shaiko leadoff pick. He's starting to warm up. His 3rd kill now. At one point he was 0-4, 3-1 since then, and Dan, of all people, down. That's a hard breacher, and that's one of the best players on VP.
Yeah, got some work done on the wall already, though, so they've got some tools to work with. These Kibas still providing a challenge. Pasha, rare miss from him, and now we're seeing the pressure onto Shaiko. This blitz staring him down. It's a good enough distraction for a pick.
Shaiko picked off at a good crossfire, watching Nako, who's now under fire himself, gassed out by Alimau. Alimau also starting to warm up the Jets. Skies and Pasha, the last two standing for VP. 50 seconds to go, and they're going to be walking into a hail of bullets. There's crossfires established by G2 all over the place. A nice drag from Pasha. Doki will get them both, and G2 ties the game.
What a comeback. 4 straight now from G2, and I hope none of the fans turned the stream off after they saw them go down 4-0, Parker, because the comeback has been phenomenal, not just answering on the attack, but now back-to-back defense round wins, and just being able to really isolate where VP want to enter from. That time it was a very heavy push in from the square side. You saw that blitz finding some good support there. I think they wanted an earlier pick onto Shaiko. Shaiko's been such a good roamer and early defense player here for G2. He was playing quite passive, though, outside of stock with those Kiba barriers. He was playing the really long angle from on top of the long desk, and sometimes that makes all the difference. You know, if he's playing a little bit more passive, he slows down that push from VP, and that's kind of back-to-back rounds now where the clock has applied more and more pressure to VIRTUS.PRO. This was a big criticism of their old roster, that they were sometimes too slow in these critical moments, that it took them too long to try to execute onto their plan. I don't think that's been as true of the new lineup from VIRTUS.PRO, but today, old habits are creeping back in.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just seem to be running against the wrong side of this map. We have flipped the script here. What we expected was G2 would run up the score attacking, and then it would tighten up when they swapped sides. The opposite has happened. VP winning the first 4 rounds, G2 winning the next 4 rounds. Not a back-and-forth series by any stretch of the imagination. G2 called their timeout after the second round. It did not pay off. They would win. They would lose the next 2 rounds and finally regain some footing as that first half came to a close. And G2 are playing with a lot more confidence now. Yeah. I will say those first 2 rounds, they were wandering in. I think they took VP a bit for granted. Now they realize, hey, these guys are pretty good. We need to give them the respect they deserve. They're playing tighter, and it's working out.
Well, the Kanto wall gets breached once more.
What is going on with that perspective?
Yeah, that rappel's always been a little bit awkward, but it's fine. I believe the wall's been opened up now, so they'll have a bit of an angle to come through on the side of VIRTUS.PRO.
Should hope so. He dumped his whole mag into it.
Rorik down below trying to find these couple of players. The roam game is heavy from G2. Benja, Shaiko, Alimau all playing up above the bomb site, leaving just 2 players to anchor down below. The logic bomb comes through, but there is no movement on the side of G2, so VIRTUS.PRO just have to wait. They need to start forcing these entries, and I think Nako will be the one to do it on the blitz, but still taking his time. Gets back on the drone. Doesn't want to rush this roam clear, Parker.
Nako being caught in multiple crossfires through both of these attacking rounds is a major issue. You very rightly pointed out that he's usually quite active in the kill department. Rorik, not so, but he picks off Shaiko. There goes Nako, Jesse. He's not finding a lot of value on that shield. Alimau will pay for his crimes at the hands of Skies outside on rappel. And as we hit the halfway point around 9, VP has the numbers advantage and are looking to break this streak that G2 is on.
Benja has not been droned. He is set up for a free kill here if they don't spot him out. There is one player about to creep into his sight line, but if he's not watching for it, it could not go his way.
Rorik technically is getting all of these kills, by the way. Oh my goodness, down goes Skies to Benja Master. The Dane now on the run. He'll pull out the CZ75. And a date with Rorik, who's heating up himself. There haven't been many aces here. Could we find one? No. Dan will take down Benja Master. Rorik not credited with anything on that kill. It leaves Stompin' in a 1v3. VP looking like they're going to snap this streak of G2. 4 rounds in a row for the 2-time world champions. Technically once under that, twice under the G2 banner. Down goes Pasha to Stompin', revolver out. And he's punished by Rorik with a 4K from one of the support-oriented players. VP don't want G2 to lead. They can tie, but not lead as VP takes it back.
Really big round from Rorik, the 23-year-old from Mordovia, Russia. And this is his first international event, so we kind of expect him to be a little bit slow starting, especially when you're up against big names like G2. But he had the gap that round, Parker. Crept his way through the lobby, up those main stairs, and it wasn't being watched properly by the guys on G2. Whether they had some util there and they just didn't hear it, whether there was some information there that they didn't quite capitalize on, or whether it was just a gap that he was actually able to spot. And the defense just wasn't set up the way it was supposed to be on the side of G2. There was that opportunity. Here we can watch it. Rourke entered this 2-5, and he will end it, I believe, 6-5 on the kill feed total. This one, the kill feed doesn't show it as his, but he does get that frag there on the skies as well. And then Benja, again, really threatening. He could have gotten 2 from that position, Parker, but he just wasn't fast enough with that first frag and then gets caught out a little bit at the end there. So really good stuff from Rourke. Stops the disaster play from G2, which could have spiraled this game out of control.
That was me clapping because you did math on broadcast, which usually we are told not to do.
I have a math degree, Parker. I better be able to do simple stuff like that.
Is that the stepping stone to get your messology PhD?
Yeah, that was required for the messology. Yeah, there's a lot of math involved in it, surprisingly.
Of course. All the angles, all of the components.
The derivatives, of course.
Stats, graphs, percentages.
Yeah, it's been complicated for sure.
Quarterly numbers are in. You got to add those in, too.
Always. You
Always.
cannot forget the quarterlies. Jeez. Big mistake for some people.
And one day you'll be an island owner.
5 seconds remaining.
One day, with all that, with the not a PhD, maybe a master's in messology here.
I'm working on it.
Well, last operator band's now locked in. Lots of confidence that G2 was exhibiting, and honestly, not a terrible round from them, all things considered. I mean, we're going to compare it to some of those earlier rounds, which were really quite pitiful for G2. Let's sit and wait out this VP assault now. Rounds have been significantly slower with VP on attack, which once again goes back to your point. G2, only one round where first blood came after the first 90 seconds. Here, every single one, except for technically the last one was almost 90 seconds in. Everyone has been after the first 90 seconds. So much slower for VP, which we come to know, but if they're getting the job done and they're roam clearing effectively, they don't necessarily need to get kills. And G2 could also be playing a more sheltered style of defense.
Well, they definitely have been, but this round that won't be the case, Parker. A bit more of an aggressive roam style coming out from G2. Very different from round number 7 where they hard anchored inside the site. Now there's some really heavy pressure inside of open area. You've got a little bit of C4s to play with. You've got a little bit of plant denial, but really they kind of have to get some pressure on the roam game.
Hard breach was a bit of a problem for VP a couple rounds ago. It does not seem to be the issue here. Kaid still on the board, but not in the arsenal for G2. They will play a slowing, obscuring style of lineup. They've got the Tuber to slow things down, Fenrir to disorient you. If Doki wants to go for a late flank, a backstab, as it's now often referred to as by the community, he's on a good operator to do that if they don't want him to call the plant, as we saw VP do. And right now, Doki is disconnected from the overall execute. He's wasting time upstairs in open area, and he manages to get away. So many times we see teams hold open area for the first 90 seconds, drop the moment it hits that. Doki got back to site at 125.
Yeah, but usually we see teams do that when they've got a Chichanka, when they've got lots of C4s. There is the smoke from Stompin, but he's being utilized here on the blue stairs, so this is going to be an earlier smoke play from Stompin as well. The plant denial is not that good from G2, so what's the game plan to win this round? The stall is great, but that's the last Toxic Babe just used by Zach. Now he's pinned down with the hatch open on top of him too, so it's only a matter of time until he gets cleaned up.
There's a single nitro cell.
Yep.
That's pretty much all you got to stop this plant in its tracks, and now Nako will menacingly see Stompin in this position. Wouldn't it be nice to have a gas canister at this point? He's going to get disoriented and followed up on. Pasha technically credited with the kill, though Nako did so much work there. Intel will be grabbed by VIRTUS.PRO as we reach the final stretch of this 10th round. There's Doki now back in his familiar spot in gold, calling. Maybe they've got... Ooh. The defuse kit tumbling down. Maybe they'll play the long-range angles and just hope for direct gunfights. The Razor Blooms will buy some time. Benja out-dueling Dan. There we go. Long-range engagements with the DMRs. That will ultimately work out. VP will have to get the job done without their statistical best player. Now it's all up to Skies. As in the site, there's Pasha. Traded out. Nako on the board too. G2 just as Doki, and he's slaughtered by Rorik. VP wins the round, and they move to map point.
Textbook siege coming out from VIRTUS.PRO, Parker. It all goes according to plan. Again, with how much time they still had on the clock for that execute, it was really simple for them. I got a little bit worried when Dan went down early. He was a little bit distracted by that Razor Bloom that almost did a bit of damage coming through to Nako. But you've got a shield planting with that shield on his back. You had the one Nitro cell, but Rourke was on the Thatcher. So even if that C4 came through, it could have been EMP'd. I believe that is what ended up happening midway through. Benja also might have just gone down before he could toss that Nitro. And part of that had to come through from Pasha. You saw how aggressive he was dropping into the middle of that bomb site while the plant was threatening to go down. That really got that kill advantage in favor of VIRTUS.PRO, and so all of the pieces came together beautifully from VP. And I'm just left wondering, like, where was the game plan from G2? Surely the entire round wasn't meant to just rely on that one nitro cell to win it for you. It wasn't going to be a strategy they were hoping for, but there was no flanks coming through, there was no Tachanka being played, there was no real commitment to the roam game either. I thought maybe they'd just try to take earlier gunfights, but all of that wasn't present.
Well, now, when you say that, I do agree that there was really no threat on the roam play, but if G2 structured a lot of that around getting an early pick, if they thought VP would be quick and they had Doki hiding inside of open area, maybe their idea was, we know these guys like to be a little quick with how they take open area.
Yep.
We were able to slow down their hard breach before. You had Benja and Doki both roaming. What if we get an opening pick or two? Then we can just consolidate around the bomb site, and we don't need a Goyo, we don't need a Tachanka, we don't need any of that stuff. But VP responded very well. They probably thought, G2 did that last time, let's play this slow, wait them out, force them to get back to the site with limited utility, and then we can just beat them with our gadgetry. And if that was the plan, VP did it masterfully.
One way or another, G2 will have to be perfect these next 2 rounds, Parker. The Twist Drone is in deep, but it didn't find the Electric Claw, so this wallet from Janitor will stay closed. Remember, bomb site down below in open area, so going to be important to clear this roam game, but it's not the entire game here for top floor of Bank. VIRTUS.PRO going to slow things down once more. Their top floor clear was very good last time, Parker. Despite misdroning Benjamaster, they had a really good opportunity to get a couple of frags. Rorik was the MVP that time, creeping up the main stairs, but G2 will be ready for that. Doki is kind of near that position, so they shouldn't get away with it again. And
they were able to punish Shaiko from this spot relatively easily, Jesse. Shaiko's playing a little bit safer now, not exposing himself to the door. Pasha has a very good idea of where he is, and a couple bullets mean that will go away very quickly. Shaiko surviving longer than we thought. Finally downed by that printer window, and Nako will now appear. He might be able to secure this. Shaiko creeping over towards the rest of G2, bleeding out, and will be retrieved by Ali Mao. So a good attempt by VIRTUS.PRO, and that honestly could have been a backbreaker for G2.
Yeah, but they still got top floor control. I don't mind this at all from VP, especially not with Dan.
He just gambles again.
Yeah, he gets those frags. Shaiko caught off a little bit. 4 and 9 now potentially will be his final stat line if his team can't clutch up this 4v5. Long angles being held by Rorik out on the rappel. Benja, a good answer. That clears up the Ram. That's that vert pressure that will be taken off the board. A lot of the job likely already done by the Ram gadgets, but even still, watch out for this flank. They're aware of it, though. Really nice peek by Nako on the blitz. Sends Doki running for the hills.
They picked up Shaiko because they thought he would help from an offense standpoint. It really depends on what Ali Mao does. There you go. Shaiko had just taken over lowest rated player on G2. Ali Mao will take that one back. Benja with 2, and suddenly the round looks imminently more winnable for G2. They've just got to wait out the next 30 seconds. Not a lot of time for them to wait out, but there is a shield still on the board. Nako will drop. No real crossfire there. Stomp and slaughtering him, finding his second kill, and now it's the man, the myth, the legend, Rorik, who's able to capitalize here before. He has his hands full. 20 seconds to go, and I think he understands what's going to happen. Timeout called by VP. Stompin will seal the deal. 3 kills for the youngest player here at the tournament. And G2 will start their comeback. One more round here in regulation as the teams now get to talk to their coaches.
Yeah, that's a clinical Zach Lamb round if I've ever seen one, Parker. It's really clean from Stompin, just inside the bomb site, bailing his team out of a bad situation. That push was looking devastating from VIRTUS.PRO. Everything G2 tried failed. Shaiko went for a couple of swings. All of them got shut down. Doki went for a flank up main stairs. That got spotted out. Everything aggressive they tried in that moment failed except for Stompin. Stompin found those picks in the mid-round. He was so clean with the TCSG, hit every head that was required of him. 11 and 8 after that round. He was, I believe, slightly negative, maybe even coming into that round. But of course, he's the one player on this team who has yet to go negative on any given map, even when they've been losing here at the 6 majors. So good to see Stomping continuing to be consistent.
Worst game was 5-5. That stat line against Dark Zero on this map. If you recall, he was 8 and 8 to start the round. Those 3 kills propel him now to the top of the leaderboard for G2 in both EPS, in KD, and in total kills. So I guess not in both, in all 3 technically. It has been the Stompin show, and as you pointed out, he's a very good late round player. We call them exit frags. Some regular sports fans will know it as garbage time when you're in the twilight moments of a round and you pick up a couple kills. Sometimes they matter, sometimes they don't. if you're a guy like, you know, who was it? Brede in the Falcons match the other day had something like over half of his kills were completely impactless when he was last alive. It does happen. And that is why you need to treat kills in KD with a bit more awareness.
Yeah.
Because 11 kills doesn't necessarily mean you've been dominating rounds. 11 kills might be, hey, I'm in a 1v5 and I kill 3 people 3 times.
Right.
That's 9 kills. You still lose the round, doesn't matter.
Right, and that's not to say that the kills last round were impactful. They
No,
were
no, no,
so
very
important.
impactful.
Of
Yes.
course, but yeah, sometimes that is the case. Coming into this matchup, Alamau and Stompin actually had the exact same number of kills and the exact same number of deaths. This game, that's not been the case, of course, but that doesn't mean that they're not both having a big impact on this matchup. Alamau is playing his role as an IGL. It's a bit more of an aggressive player. Stompin is holding things down in the late round. Sometimes Stompin's worst games will come when G2 is just dominating because Stompin's not as required in those moments. He is the guy who's going to be last alive, the last line of defense. And if the front line of defense, if Doki and Shaiko and Benja are all farming, then sometimes you don't need Stompin to pop off. But this game, he's been required.
Thank you for the clarification there. Last thing I want is 100 million angry Stompin' fans in my DMs yelling things at me. So.
Yeah. They go back to the basement, Parker. This is a bit of an interesting choice by G2, deciding that even though it didn't work for them last time, they want to try it once more. And again, the game plan's kind of even been more aggressive. They have really been wanting to commit to this roam game. They have to actually fight up here on the roam. If they give up this map control with 90 seconds still to go, they're only going to play with 1 C4. That won't be enough. They have to get aggressive here in the early round if they don't want VP to just go for another clean execute, because the game plan is the same for VIRTUS.PRO. They've got the shield, they've got the Thatcher, they've got the Capitao, they've got great tools to make and execute. You have to stop this push before it gets going, but so far they haven't been finding their marks.
Yeah, G2 really running with a similar lineup, but it's VP only making the change on Pasha. All 3 attacks on this bomb site for VP. Pasha's played a different operator from Ying over to Dokkaebi, now to Capitao. So Pasha really the flex here, but the other 4 locked in. That is vintage VIRTUS.PRO. Play the same operators every single time, win or lose.
Yeah.
Your whole structure will revolve around that.
Well, the utility's been a little bit better, I'll say, from G2. Inside the site, this is going to be another 5v5 messy execute, but you've got Dread Mines from Shaiko. You've got these Thorn Traps coming through from Alamau. There are tools they can play around, but it's still going to be heavily favored for VP. Maybe not heavily, but I would give them the edge with this Capitao, with this Sophia, with this Thatcher.
The later that this goes, the more I like VP's chances. They clear Stompin' out of this position. Arguably just about as successful as that blue hold was before. It was kind of the undoing for G2, their Achilles heel in this lineup, and now Doki is trapped inside of server, burning alive. They cook him into a position where he has to get out of there and has now trapped himself in the dirt tunnel, but they can just isolate him, Jesse. They don't even need to go for him. Let him languish in there. Down goes Benja. Naquo will join. Doki now in the ground. VIRTUS.PRO sinking their teeth into this G2 defense. Shaiko and Alimau, the last 2 standing, usually having Shaiko as one of the last 2 is confidence inspiring. But Shaiko's had a pretty rough map so far. They call upon their heroes when you need them most, and now Shaiko will need to clutch out in a 1v4. VP have him tracked. Dan gets the final kill, and VIRTUS.PRO win the map. 1 map away from being just the 3rd team to qualify for main stage on Friday.
You could look up a strap book of perfect basement attacks on Bank, and they would just show you those couple of rounds from VP. Beautifully done.
Will G2 win their map? We'll find out after this break. Well, the old adage in sports is you're never in trouble until you lose at home. G2 somehow find themselves in trouble while not losing at home. Now G2 is going to go to their map pick, and if they do lose at home, that's it. Virtus.Pro becomes our third team. Well, I guess that technically depends on what's going on over there on the B stream. Oh, yeah, that's true. Never mind. So Virtus.Pro will be, see, thanks, that's why he's here. Virtus.Pro will be the third team to qualify if they take G2's map. G2 obviously will now need to do the reverse sweep and make it through Chalet and onward, or else G2 will play yet another best-of-3 tomorrow, which will be both a joint elimination and qualification game.
Indeed it will, Parker, and it's not going to be an easy task for Virtus.Pro. Obviously, map 1 was quite close between these two teams, but Chalet is a map that's been rare to see from VP. This would have been the decider map in the EML finals when these two teams met, but it wasn't played because it was a 2-0 for G2. And because it wasn't played, Virtus.Pro have not played Chalet once since forming this roster. We have no idea what they're going to look like on Chalet. G2 played it just 24 hours ago against Twisted Minds, and they got a win.
They did, and I will say, G2 fans, here is your copium. When G2 lost Twisted Minds map yesterday, Twisted Minds blew them out of the water. I believe it was a 7-2, if memory serves correctly. So at least you pushed Virtus.Pro to the brink on their map. Now, granted, if you lose all of your games 5-7, you can be proud of your result, but you're still ultimately not winning. So the goal here for G2, dominate on Chalet, show that Bank was really just a stylistic difference on a map that your opponent knows better, that's presumably why they picked it, and then settle the score on Border, because that is your only path forward. You lose Chalet, you go into tomorrow's matches with elimination and qualification on the line, and Virtus.Pro ultimately gets revenge for the EML finals.
Azami Mira were the two operators banned by G2 yesterday versus Twisted Minds when they were on the attack. They will start much the same with Azami being removed. That is classic Chalet. It would be rare to see this map with her in it. But Mira not going to be removed like before. Instead, Thorn, the operator chosen to be deleted. That is a powerful op here. It's Skies' most played defensive operator here at the Salt Lake City Major. So a little bit of a target ban, perhaps, towards the Frenchman on Virtus.Pro. On the other side, it is Snake and Grim to be removed. That Snake has been played really well by Benjamaster in particular here at the Major.
And one of the things that when you think of Chalet pops to mind is how often defenders want to take engagements through windows. If you are looking for somebody over in, let's say, Bathroom, which is where Nako is, or if you look over towards Big Window, or you look over towards Balcony from potentially somebody playing the chimney position, because they can also cover library, you're going to want to know where they're looking. Because if you want to vault in a window, which is usually the way to get into the top floor on Chalet, you don't want somebody staring in your direction. You are vulnerable. You are exposed. Snake is an amazing operator for not only finding intel, but where they are looking. He is a terrific solo op, but he's also really good at feeding intel to the rest of the team, particularly aggressive shields. So taking that out of action on a map like Chalet, excellent decision by Virtus.Pro, and of course, it handicaps one of the players on G2 in the process. Jesse, I believe they call that a win-win in the business.
Yeah, you'll absolutely take that, of course, here through the op ban phase. With the Azami banned out too, you're going to go to the next best thing. You're going to bring the Castle out here. That's what Pasha decided to pick for our first round on the top floor defense of Chalet. He'll be setting those up around site and then going for a bit of a roam away from his utility down here currently on the bottom floor alongside Skies. Could be looking to get somewhat aggressive here on this side of the map, especially if G2 want to enter through this side. Currently, they've got players all around the place. Benj is close to sight on that balcony. You've got Doki not too far either. This could be a fast move if G2 are feeling it.
Yeah, and there we go. There's the vault out. Good read on that one. Down goes Doki. Lynx did an excellent job talking about this operator of Striker on Chalet and why these recruits do get played so often. I recommend you go back and listen to the casting for the FaZe Clan matchup because they do love this operator, KDS in particular. A very high value jack of all trades op, and in Doki's hands, he can do a lot of work with it. He will obviously be removed, and that's also the case that will need to be retrieved, Jesse.
Yeah, it's just outside a bathroom. Nobody's over there really at the moment to go pick it up, but at least it's outside the building. It should be recoverable. You just got to spend some time. Shaiko kind of in that direction, but not going for it immediately. This has kind of been a bit of a thorn in their side for G2 because it was clear they wanted to maybe poke aggressively, but unfortunately, they've had to rein things back and go over towards this side of the map instead.
Jesse, Thorn's banned.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, I could tell that
The
one was coming.
moment that he, by the way, Chad, the moment that he said thorn in the side, he made a gesture because he knew exactly what was coming. And that's payback for the Maverick comment the other day when you actually looked up if they played Maverick or not when I used that term. So,
yeah.
Rorik had taken some serious damage over by Piano, but that was really all G2 could muster on this attack here of Chalet. They're still outside of the building. They might struggle with that snake ban as we talked about. They will have to rely an awful lot on that Deimos.
Someone just ran over the defuse kit, but didn't pick it up. He's leaving it on the ground.
Benjamaster slaughters Dan, but there's 2 to answer from VP. Shaiko on the board far earlier than we saw on Bank. The 2 newest members of G2 will now work arm in arm to try to thwart 2 of the best players from the last map on VP. And Pasha, well, he doesn't miss. Now it's up to Benja on a single point of HP. Sky sends this one away, and VP will start off on Chalet with a victory.
Yeah, it's a beautiful round from VIRTUS.PRO, Parker. They get aggressive at multiple different points throughout that round. Of course, there's the run out, which starts things off so cleanly for VP, but even in the late round, it's little swings from VIRTUS.PRO that are making those gunfights go their way. They're not just sitting in their sight, letting G2 make the push that they want to go for. Instead, it's aggression coming out, particularly from Pasha, and that's always been his role on this team. Since joining the squad years ago, he's been the one aggressive member on the squad. Now that they've changed their identity a little bit, you see more of that aggression from the other players as well. Skies likes to get aggressive, of course, from time to time. We've seen how good he can be starting off maps just a few hours ago, a few minutes ago even. But it was really this aggressive play that I think halted G2 and caught them off a little bit where they didn't expect this style of play coming out from VP. Chalet is a map where you have to be aggressive, where you have to get active on the defense. If you sit still with all those windows opened up, with all the pressure the attackers can take, you're not going to find success with it. It's one of the most attacker-sided maps in the pool, but VP, they play really aggro and they shut that down before it gets started.
To your point, one of the most attacker-sided maps in the pool, but not here.
Oh.
Clubhouse and Bank have the highest attacker win rates so far. Everybody else, Defender right now. So things have flipped up. And keep in mind, Bank, Chalet have always been really favorable to the attackers. And my eyesight always says Chalet is really good for the attackers. But Jesse, something has changed.
Yeah, but what's the sample size?
Changed.
You know, that's probably 3 or 4 maps.
Well, I mean, the most played map was Bank at 8 plays at this point in time.
Exactly.
We're still going through the data, but you
Yeah.
know, so it serves my purpose. So I'm going to use the data to my. What do they say? There's lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Well, Parker, the purpose for G2 is going to be a rush. We've got a Blitz, we've got a Finko, we've got a Lion. This is about to go really crazy, and the jumping begins.
And the Fenrir will give some intel as the Wamai gets away. Sky's blinded out. Next one in the line of sight is Pasha. Far back away. Ali Mao not in a position to contest there. Does not want to gamble his life on an ADS, lest he get killed by a better shot. And honestly, with the way Pasha's been shooting today, I would not want to gamble a 1v1 against him either. Now maybe a bit of a reset. As E1Ds will go off, a gas canister tossed out in response by VP to try and slow this down, and there's still 2 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, Alamau got in, but he's kind of alone now on these stairs. Unfortunately, the Finka behind him, Doki, wasn't able to follow him up, and now Pasha holding this crossfire is going to make it really awkward for Doki to actually get in and support Alamau all by himself now on the shield. There's nobody up there in Piano for him to fight with, but even still, this is dangerous.
And an ego peek by Dan. Outduels Benjamaster. Now the shield is gone. Ali Mao lived a little bit longer than we thought. Shaiko off the board too. These castle barricades, they've come back to haunt this G2 team. They were tough to deal with on Bank. Now they're proving to be quite an obstacle for G2 on Chalet. We've just reached the halfway point of the round, and it's 5 players left. Make that 4. Dogi with the LMG in hand. You don't see that every day, and it's, what is it? Operation Outbreak now remaining as Lion and Finka are the last 2 standing operators for G2.
Yeah, of course, back to this 2vx situation. Stompin and Doki know this position. They were so good on Bank basements just in the last map playing in that 2vx clutch. They'll have to do it once again. They've got top floor control more or less, but they know about Nako's position inside of Piano. The 2 defenders are split up, Parker, but they could go for a deadly pinch at any moment.
No utility whatsoever other than a proximity alarm. I don't think that's really going to play much of a factor here with the time being what it is. I mean, who knows? Maybe if they are able to get one of those kills, they can use it for some information. But VP are a team that very much like violence. They might just go straight 2 blows. Stompin and Doki don't have any drones remaining. They have absolutely no intel to go off of. Can't say the same for this VP squad. As you can see, the dead players cycling through the cams to give information to their teammates. Rorik and Nako now just waiting out this G2 offense. Out goes the final Adreno Surge. Doki walks in. It's his 3rd, and he'll be in a showdown against Nako. Getting Diffuse Kit down, but Doki's got plenty of time. Doki's fully committed to this one, and he gets killed by Nako. Did you not hear the castle coming? VP start off just like they did on Bank. 2-0.
Pros don't fake, Parker, but sometimes they maybe should. That 1v1 not going Doki's way. He wanted to stick that plant, felt like he was in a good spot for it, and certainly Nako had to move in order to stop that plant, but it's really nice there in the 1v2 to be able to clutch up for the side of VP. Nako, once again, the hard support IGL of this team. Everybody else considered a flex position, but Nako is the guy who needs to just sit on site. Sometimes maybe the stomping of VP as he's so impactful in the late rounds. Really good round coming in here. After Rorik goes down, he's put in a difficult position, but he isolates his kills. He gets these frags. And I want to credit VP as well in the early game too, Parker, because that rush was so scary, but it was good play from guys like Pasha to be able to shut down that play, only letting the blitz through, made the push a little awkward for G2, and it forced them to go for this kind of ridiculous 2v2 execute that didn't really favor them, even in the long run.
Now, while Chalet might not, at this event, be attacker favorite, it is still a very favorable map across a bunch of regions for kickoff.
Yep.
So obviously things can change up here, but why I don't think this will skew towards the attackers is ultimately the win rates for these two teams.
Fair.
Both of these teams seem to like this map, and they both are far more dominant defending. 62% of the rounds won on defense by VIRTUS.PRO, or rather, of the defending rounds, VIRTUS.PRO won 62 of them, G2 have won 55. Both of their attacking win rates below 50%.
I would say, again, on VP, it's a different roster, so it's hard to dive into those as well.
I mean, that's only over the last 6 months,
Yeah.
6 to 8 months. And of course, it's always going to be tough to do stats when there was so much upheaval in the comp scene.
Yeah, both these teams making big roster moves, of course, over the offseason after the 6th Invitational. G2, a huge acquisition of...
Benja.
That was a big one, too. I was going to say Shaiko.
People forget about him.
Tomato, both great players that were acquired by G2 in the offseason. VP, of course, huge moves as well. Nako, Rorik, and Skies all coming onto this team. So lots of movements in the offseason. This is their first real test at an international level. That trick will not be fast enough, so the wall gets opened up for G2.
They did increase the speed at which the electrification happens.
Good point. They did.
But it was not quick enough, and it looked like when it was thrown by Dan, he actually missed the first radius and had to pick it back up again and go for a second attempt. Had he committed to that first one and nailed it, I actually think that wall would have remained closed. Doki with the leadoff pick on to Pasha. Doki with 4 kills. I don't know how he's amassed such a high kill total so quietly, especially when he was the first death back in round number 1, but having the Scotsman do well is always a key to success for G2, and he started off as well as he can.
Now it gets a little awkward. They're dodging the nitros nicely on the side of G2. They still don't have much control here on this map, despite the man advantage, and that will get lost as well. Rorik, great shot into Benja for the headshot, will make things even at 4. And now these top floor players have to make a decision for VP. At what point do you give this up, if at all?
He's going to worm through his legs.
Sure.
Ali Mao and Shayo getting very familiar. Out go those pocket EMPs. A Thatcher EMP will go as well. This is all to slow down a potential Nitro cell that could be thrown out. As you can see, there are none available for VP. Info is also gone, so any bulletproofs that might be up of the 2 that were placed by VP will not be able to give them any information. I fear that they used all this utility to get Shaiko in, but the defuse kit still has not gone down.
Yeah, of course, the bomb site 1 floor down below. They've got to get the wall open first. They want this control. They will find Dan here on the top floor. That's one of 2 roamers still existing up here. Leaves Skies in an awkward position. Now his teammate's gone down without a trade. What's he going to do? Calls Rorik up actually for a moment, but as the death mark comes through, he falls back to site as well.
So G2 desperate for information at this point in time. Nako far enough back that he will see these players coming, and with the TCSG in hand, he can do some big damage. Out will go the Flames to isolate these players, some area denial to push them into the arms of G2. Doki takes down Nako. Sky's in trouble. Rorik, the only one remaining. No, they're all gone. In the blink of an eye, G2 sweeps through Doki. Looked like he picked up another kill, a huge round from him. And G2 are able to get on the board faster than they did on Bank.
You know, Parker, I fell head over heels over myself to
Are you okay?
hype up the basement pushes from VIRTUS.PRO in our last
You look
map.
okay.
Thank you. But I got to do it again here for G2 on Kitchen for Chalet. That was a really strong attack. They never bit off more than they could chew in that round. They got the office wall open, and then they didn't commit to a full clear. Why? Because they had a thermite down below. They had a Capitao down below. They were easily able to smoke that plant, threaten the diffuser to go down, and it really just forced those movements out of VP. They knew exactly what their win con was throughout that round, and it's just a textbook objective-focused round coming through from G2. Maybe it's not the flashiest, maybe it's not a massive stomp in 5K, but hey, they don't ask how you get it done. It just needs to get done, and G2 will get their first round here on Chalet.
Use as many bombs as they can.
It's a fun map to watch and one that I imagine will get quite chaotic as we go on. VP, typically a sluggish team. How will they fare on a much faster map like Chalet? The assumption being, with this G2's being G2's choice, VP opting to go to defense gives them a leg up. And I mean, you lose the tertiary site. That is the most common thing that we see in this game. So if VP are able to win the same 2 bomb sites that they went on before, maybe even more, because Chalet does see all 4 bomb sites get played depending on the team and depending on the region, so it would not be uncommon for us to see that. But if VP are able to hold that, a 4-2 scoreline is pretty much standard. That's exactly what VP want. But then you're going to need to be a little bit faster than this team sometimes can be.
Yeah. Interesting to see the Clash ban coming out from G2. It's not an operator that VP played at all through the first quarter of this game, but something we talked about in the Shopify Rebellion versus FaZe Clan game the other day, Parker, is a lot of the time this third operator ban is not so much a reaction to what the other team had been playing, but more so to enable a different strategy from your own team through these next 3 rounds. Because, of course, after this, there's no more reaction bans. Okay.
Oh.
Dan flips on a dime and dines Benja. That's a brutal game to lose.
It's pronounced Dane.
Okay.
Benja gone. That is a rough one. He's had a bit of a slow start. Alimau will trade Pasha out, though, as the Monty menacingly inside a trophy, and what a trophy that is for Alimau to take care of Pasha. Pasha, Skies, and Dan carrying so much of the weight for VP on Bank, but Rorik probably had the most high-impact kills outside of maybe Skies. So there's still some weapons for VP. G2 have made their way into the building, 1 minute off of the board. They are setting up on the main floor, but on the opposite side of where we'd expect. They are right below the bomb site now and have taken Kitchen by force.
Yeah, usually you'll see the strat with like a buck or something, Parker, but they've gotten bottom floor control and can't do much with it. Because of that, Nako's position can't be forced out. He gets that pick on Alimau, finding a crossfire in the Monty, and this just got really awkward for G2 without their spearhead.
Doki and Shaiko side by side. Nako down from below. Doki still in this very favorable position. Shaiko's given him the all clear to assess the situation and aggress towards the bomb site. Diffuse Kit has also been surrendered. That was with Alimau dying, so G2 will need to retrieve it from the Lion's Den.
The thing is, though, Parker, all 3 of these players are approaching the same side. Everyone is going to have to finish through Solar, so VP, if they can just lock down Bathroom and lock down the Master Door, they don't have to overreact. You're watching for a flank on G2, but there's unlikely to be one from VIRTUS.PRO.
Shaiko down below, yeah, you're absolutely right. They need to get him in the actual cut and thrust of this execute. Here he comes up those Solar stairs. Diffuser tantalizingly close. I have to imagine he'll be stomping to retrieve it, as now there goes the Rotero drone. A scouting mission with just under a minute left in the round.
Stompin's gone over to big window, so he's not going to be near that kid at all. Instead, it's a swing from Rorik that gets hard punished. Nice trade by Skies, though, 2v2.
And Sky's still alive here in the bathroom, flattened by Shaiko. Stompin looking for the all clear. Dan, last one standing. We are seeing Stompin rotate on over. Dan will go for the run out. He suspects somebody's on big window, but he's given himself away. And guess what? Shaiko will have a line of sight over towards that part of the map. They'll coalesce towards the back of the site. Shaiko versus Dan is a fight that we have seen time and time again, and it never disappoints. Wow. Shaiko will win it, as is often the case. Stompin was attempting to get Diffuse Kit down, but no objective play needed from G2. They win it off of killing alone. A terrific round by G2, and they tie things up.
Yeah, that's not an easy execute from G2. Even in the even man count situation, the positions were so much better for VP, but it's just little bits of utility. It's some pressure from down below and then a flashbang, which forces a swing out from VP that allows G2 to kind of start that trade game, and they're so good at working together on these trades, Parker. One of the best team when it comes to going 1-for-1, killing your opponent's man. It was an unfortunate start from Benja. I don't know how he loses this. It gets answered back with another freebie right onto Pasha, and then that kill right there from Doki starts the ball game. We start seeing trade after trade. It was really good movement from Stompin, initially rotating over towards that big window. That prompted the jump out in the end there from Dan. That's why he jumps out the window, because he knew Stompin was in that position, but by the time Dan gets to that spot, Stompin has already rotated back towards playing with Shaiko. The duo has already set themselves up in a plant position. It is perfectly done by G2. Everything had to go right to win that round, and it all did.
You also feel there was a bit of restlessness from VIRTUS.PRO. They did kind of overcommit and overpeak, and I think when you have a setup where you feel like you are losing grip on the site, whether it be because of drones, whether it be because of utility, and you need to peak because you just cannot sit patiently and get beaten, VIRTUS.PRO decides to take engagements. Now, with some of these players and the way that they've been feeling, I don't hate that. They have been winning their duels against G2 more often than not. But obviously on that round, you are confined to very small areas. Most of the walls around you, easy fodder for a gun to shoot through and get a bullet pen kill. So VP have no choice but to peek, and they lost all of those duels. And Jesse, sometimes it's as simple as you losing your 50-50 gunfight, and that's the round.
Remember, VP have played this map once before in kickoff. That was an 8-6 loss to Shifters back during the regional stage. So this has been an awkward map for them in the past. It's probably a big reason why G2 wanted to play the map up against VIRTUS.PRO. So I apologize when I said it was all the old roster for this team. They have played it once under this new 5-man stack. And now it'll kind of be up to VIRTUS.PRO to change the narrative a bit. This has been a map that they've struggled on in the past, and it kind of comes down to the stall game here in round number 5. I love the 2-brow being brought out by Nako. It will delay this office clear, but the Monty might speed things up if he can walk his way in through this doorway.
Yeah, Skies is there to support Nako in this position. Their intended target is the 2-brow, and they let him get away because there's nobody escorting this Monty of Alimau to really do damage. Doki still needed a few steps to get into position. They're worried about a re-aggress now as they lose their vision to the Fenrir gadget, but this is a fall-off from VP. They have completely conceded this top floor.
Yeah, this has been nice space taken by G2. At just the 90-second mark, VP give this up, so it's clearly according to plan for this squad. The site utility is going to be interesting as well coming through from G2. They brought a Finka, which is almost never seen outside of rush strategies, so I'm really curious to see how Doki wants to use this operator.
Second time on this bomb site that Doki has employed this op. Benja will take care of Dan. That's, I guess, some words from the previous round. Down goes Stomp and Napasha. I don't know where the Dokkaebi was, and I don't know how much utility that Korean operator had remaining, but she is oh so effective at finding the team. And as you can see, no mute jammers present on the side of VP, so those phones would have been ringing. That would have been great intel for G2 to have. They've got full control of the top floor, as it looked like Nako was threatening them over towards Library Stairs, but this is a much more entrenched VP defense to ride out the final moments of the round.
Yeah, 4v4. This is going to get awkward for VP. The walls close in a little bit. Without this pressure up above, they've only really got Pasha on a roam. Here comes the jump in, and the hatch drop is soon to follow now from G2.
And Alimau is literally going to hang all of his hopes onto Shaiko. Usually that's a pretty good bet, as an air jab goes off to isolate the player down in the alcove down below. Also towards the main door, expecting a swing from the smoke. Rorik takes a gamble. It does not pay off. He ultimately loses a lot of his HP in the process, but it allows Alimau to take up space. Doki now covering from above. Down goes Rorik. It's a sweep on through the site, but Skies is there. Nako dies. G2 with the advantage. Skies coming back to the site, gets one. That's all he can muster. Pasha in a 1v3. Doki has his line of sight. He gets gunned down. No 10 kills for the Scotsman, as it's Pasha now against a Monty and Benja. Alimau will just sit and observe the work he did with the case. Benja has coverage from above. Will he take the fight upstairs? That seems to be the goal. He cannot take the Monty 1v1 because Benja will just be sitting and waiting. But Pasha's indecision, Jesse, might just kill him. Shield break makes this a lot easier of a fight, but you know Alimau is very comfortable on this roll, just wasting time, shaking his head no. As Pasha tries as he might, Benja doesn't even need to get into harm's way because guess what? You're out of time on the side of VP. Finally, Benja gets the kill. Pasha goes down, and it's another round for G2. They take the lead on Chalet.
Really nice push coming through again from G2. It's been a couple rounds in a row now where they've been putting together some excellent executes, Parker. And as we were watching a lot of that pressure come through over towards the blue stairs, over towards the library hatch, it was Doki who vaulted over the mezzanine and ended up just walking in through bar. Found some huge kills with that LMG on Finka. Again, not really a common operator we see outside of rush strategies, but he was using it to pick up some down teammates. He was using it to enable them to go through that aggressive push, and he was hitting some shots, so I can't argue with the results. Doki, a huge round to come through there. Again, in a tweet, blamed yesterday's loss on poor decision-making, but I thought his decision to drop that balcony going through the site door was perfectly played, and it was really what opened up the bomb site for G2 in their last round.
Doki was the first casualty back in round number 1, so since then, he's amassed 9 kills in 4 rounds, so I don't think decision-making has really been the problem for Doki here, to your point. I mean, they're playing about as angry as all the people in Doki's responses to that tweet, which, by God, put on a hazmat suit and wander into the comments section over there. A fun little fact about this matchup, this is G2's first lead of the series. They tied or trailed all of Bank. They have now finally been able to put VP under, and VP doesn't like it. They immediately respond by calling their timeout to talk through this. G2 are just, they're a tough team to deal with. They have so many tools at their disposal. They've managed to win these rounds with Stompin getting a 0 kills. And again, Stompin is a late round player. If he is dying early, which through 5 rounds he has 3 deaths, suggesting he survives on the rounds that they've won, you don't really need him all that much. You need him in the rounds where you're losing, of course. But he was one of among the first to die in those lost rounds. So you don't really need Stompin. That's okay. He will likely wake up on the second half. G2 showing a lot of confidence. VP shaken. And again, this should be the favorable side for VP. So if they come out on the wrong side of a 4-2, if G2 pulls ahead, even more than they are now, that spells trouble and also makes Border look like an inevitability.
Part of the reason why the TAC timeout was just called by Dark, the longtime coach of Fear X, now moving over to Europe to try to coach in for VP. There's only one more round on this side, so all of the TAC timeout had to just get used for this final 6th round. The defense on Kitchen and Dining. He must know how important this round is for the team, feeling that a 3-3 is necessary at this point. He'll get a free timeout after this to talk about the second half, so there's no reason to call this unless you're very concerned about this round in particular. And what have they brought with it? Well, they brought a ton of utility. The laser gates coming through from Dan, the lasers coming through from Pasha as well. It's mission impossible on the top floor of Chalet.
Just see them rappelling down amidst it to try and grab the big crown jewel. Doki was first death on round number 1 and will exit the first half in the exact same situation as he's blown sky high by a nitro cell. Doki on Blackbeard is not something you see every single day, but I mean, hey, if it works, and it might be part of this broader strategy. As VP gets to workshop this round, so too did G2. They get to speak to their coach as well. Obviously, the game does not pay off. Shaiko dies at the hands of Rorik, and VP's full court press across this entire map so far working out. Stompin, just like Ali Mao on Bank, will not exit the first half fragless as he gets 1 pick on the window. And G2's going to need to amass a couple more because it's VP with the lead. Issuing a correction, Rorik, trapped on stairs, tries to fight his way to that spot, dies to Benja, and VP giving up some costly errors here, and now they've lost the numbers advantage entirely.
Things are falling apart for VP, Parker. A couple of, frankly, needless swings in the midst of this round have given the advantage back over towards G2. Uncomfortable spot to be in now if you're Nako or Dan. They must be able to close this round out with over 60 seconds to go. No utility in terms of C4s or anything to deny a plant, so it's all going to be on the gunplay. And G2, they can take their time with this, set up some crossfires, set up a gunfight that's favorable to you, and just go for the execute.
The one thing that will work in VP's favor is information. They have a bulletproof camera inside a kitchen. It'll be able to get a good look at that trophy portion of the map. Dan guns down Ali Mao. Benjamaster just slipped through the fingers of Nako as well. So that could have been 2 quick kills for VP to send us to a 3-3 second half, but that won't come to pass. Stompin finds his 3rd. Jesse, you said it, he's never gone negative in a matchup, and he's now 3-3 with plenty more time to go. Nako worried about the cross. Benjamaster, good coverage. And that's a huge round for G2 as they stretch their lead. Trouble in the water for this VP team as they are now battling uphill in this second half.
I didn't understand the call, Carl. I jumped to the fucking site.
There's nothing, no better feeling when Zach goes audio and gets a kill.
Audio.
Can I have some audio, guys?
So good,
I'm
guys.
steak.
Hey, guys,
Shut up. Let me hear me with the okay. Look, for master, like Duke gonna play the Tony below, okay? Duke, like remember, and then like I'm gonna play the Monty BB, okay? So like they're gonna have the blitz. Zach is gonna play the Ella for yourself, okay? Zach, like in games, and you Shaco play the Legion, okay? Legion fair up to you, okay? Like for your whole, and like same like if they go for Sula, they need to clean Duke, and then like I want you all you guys like TDM there, okay? Because like they have the green open, like if you let it take it below, like it's gonna be so hard for us, okay? So like if they
Feeling for that, okay? This is not important at all. Things I want to say important here. Like I already reviewed some things with Nako before. The operator Bonat could be nothing different. It's Azam and Mira and Clash. Like they use some Clash in screen for Nako, so I think gonna be a good one. At least like if they don't show in the first round, I think they're still gonna show after that. Different thing I put for replay that the Fury setup. I explain why. Right? When they play games hold, we have a gap to jump in the K9 window. Just the one thing in the paper, I put Pasha 2 times, but basically is a Nikita and Skies, right? Pasha gonna bait with the demos in the games window. Yeah. And everything I create here for attacking this map, guys, is because they can ban all the shields, like we always know. And Nako know how he gonna play, for example, no shield, 2 E-game setup, because we're gonna play 2 guys in basement. Chris, 3Q games, you always gonna play ace, okay? You do that default ace on basement garage, you open games hold, and you fuck that guy. If Nako have a shield, default. If Nako don't have a shield, Nako gonna play Dokaeb and go blue and Nikita mud. If Nikita, Nako have a shield, you can do that flanking trophy like you like, okay? Like normally you like to do. Is that, guys? Don't have to think too much. Like solar attack default just work.
On games clear?
like gonna be open, you know. Like so, your Azami, like your Hibana is kind of okay, but we have a green, you know. Normally they reinforcement top main for games hold, but they don't play. They play on the stairs. They just give the terra. Shaiko just put a Fenrir trap there, so it's fine. You know, you can play green Ing. You
Great information being given by the two Brazilian coaches of the European teams in front of us. Both Ramalho and Dark, very experienced, very prepped in this matchup. Ramalho in particular, the longest current coach still in under one organization. Joined this team back in August of 2023 and has been with them, with G2, I should say, for some really high highs and some low lows. Was the coach of FaZe Clan back when they won the major in Sweden, but has yet to replicate that level of success so far for G2. If they can win this game, right, claw things back on Chalet, win Cafe, make it to the main stage, and go through the brackets, I think they'll be quite confident with this team, and I think this looks like maybe their best chance yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, honestly, these teams both have a very good shot of making it to main stage. I mean, obviously, it depends on what happens tomorrow and I guess what happens in the other matches today. And just a reminder now, as we get set up for the second half, that there is a B stream running alongside ours. Ace and Dez are over there right now casting Los versus Weibo. All of the matchups here on this stream are for qualification purposes to make the main stage on Friday, a stage that is being assembled just again within arm's reach of where we are casting from. It takes shape in anticipation to welcome all of you to Salt Lake City on Friday for the live portion of this event. On the B stream, it's a much sadder affair. Either Los or Weibo will go home. There are 2 more elimination games over there. And of course, if you are a North American, Australian, or just generally an enjoyer of teams that will hate each other's guts, Enterprise and Shopify Rebellion will do battle in our very next contest at the conclusion of G2 versus VP. We got to get there first, though, and we might still need Border. If G2's first half is any indication, Border looking very likely at this point in time to settle this best of 3.
It's been a great game from Doki so far here on map number 2. He's been struggling to hit double digits the last couple of maps. Didn't do it at all versus Twisted Minds in that 3-map series and hit just 7 back on bank. So 1 away now here as we head into the second half of Chalet. Likely to hit that high watermark at some point over the next few minutes. This bomb site, of course, all the way over towards top floor inside of Master. So a bit of a roam clear going on from VP to start us off. And the tools are very strong. You've got the Dokkaebi, you've got the Deimos, you've got all these different ways to find these operators, and the information is flowing for VP.
Stompin is the first one under watch. I guess that's payback for his 3K in the previous round to go from 0-3 to 3-3. Dan gunning down Shaiko. Shaiko competing with Alimao right now is the lowest rated player on G2. It's been a bad game for the Frenchman. Benja will join him as well, and now there's a lineup over on the stairs. Doki swamping Rorik. He had Stompin in tow. Doki breaking double digits, the only person in the lobby to do that. Well ahead of all the rest, sitting at 6 kills. That would be Shaiko and Skies. A good answer back from G2 to take down Rorik after they lost 2 players of their own.
Still not enough, though. I mean, you've got to favor VP. 90 seconds left on the clock with a 1-man advantage. They've got good map control as well. All of bottom floor in their control, and of course this piano extension as well. Just being contested right now. G2 do exist in piano, but VIRTUS.PRO are not too far off, just inside of Mez. Not 100% sure on the util. They're going to take their time to drone, face check a few angles if they have to. You can see how eager G2 are to answer this man count back, Parker. Stompin wants to make this a 3v3.
Absolutely, and I mean, at this point, you kind of have to, right? This map is so easy to attack on. You cannot sit still. You cannot be restless. They can kill you through the floors. They can kill you through the walls. We said the same about VP just a couple rounds ago. It might look like a bit of restlessness, but you have to take these engagements, especially when there's a shield on the board and you're down in numbers. And Doki understands the mission. He didn't have much to gamble on. He does gamble. It ultimately does not pay off. Alimao and Stompin in a 2v4. This is grim for G2, but Alimao blows up Pasha with a Nitro Cell, has a golden opportunity to do some damage to the Blitz as well. Everybody on VP have taken their lumps. This is perfect for the guns in the hands of Alimao and Stompin. They need to work together effectively. Diffuse kit going down. Nako protected for the moment. Sky's watching to ensure he stays alive. Alimao in pursuit now. Will look for a swing. He's got the Blitz doing more damage, but he can't capitalize. Stompin dies because of it. Alimao trapped in the corner, and they'll play him like the piano he sat on. VP, 1 round back at G2. They take the first round of their attack.
There is maybe no team on this planet who is harder to work picks back against than VIRTUS.PRO. When they get themselves into an advantage, Parker. They are so clinical at not giving anything up. You could see G2 hunting for those frags, whether it was stomping, getting aggressive inside Piano, looking for a couple of those kills, whether it was Alamau jumping out the bathroom window, whether it was some aggression from Doki too. Everybody on G2 wanted to get aggressive. They wanted to answer back on the man counts, but VP gave them nothing. No aggressive positions. They were holding their flanks down below. They were just waiting for G2 to make a mistake, and eventually they found it with that pick onto Doki. It opens the door for a plant to start being played in by Nako, and it gets VIRTUS.PRO back alive in this game. 4-3, absolutely a place to work from if you're VIRTUS.PRO, and as we often say, Chalet can lean towards the attacker, so G2 cannot let this spiral out of control.
I'll go back and reference these numbers here on Chalet just so people need a bit of perspective. Both of these teams not very good at attacking on Chalet. Statistically, both much better as defenders. Both of them having plus 50% win rates in the rounds that they won on defense. But as you very correctly pointed out, VIRTUS.PRO, half of those numbers are from a completely different roster.
Right.
So while the org might have that number, the team doesn't necessarily. And I mean, when you add new players to the team, and again, almost every major team at this event made some kind of roster move, unless you're basically FaZe or Shopify Rebellion, there was some movement on your team, either from a coaching or active player standpoint. Those numbers don't tell the full story. And as you pointed out as well, we've only seen 5 Chalets so far. Nowhere near enough for us to say with certainty. That's still not enough data for us to say, yeah, this is a defender-sided map. It can turn on a dime. VP looking pretty good on their attack. 40 seconds in now. Sky's already in the building. Deathmark's in pocket. Shotgun out. If this is a quick push from VP, it might catch this G2 team off guard, particularly Doki lurking in the basement.
Yeah, a lot of their players are over towards the solar side, so I don't think they're going to be immediately in towards the bomb site, but the map control is being acquired slowly but surely from VIRTUS.PRO. They've got players here outside the front door, and they've droned out the player in the basement too, so the information will be flowing again for VIRTUS.PRO. They've been really liking these intel operators. We've got Deimos again once more. You've got Rourke being brought up here on the Snake as well, so there should be opportunities to find some of these players out. Shaiko punished a little bit as he tries to poke his way towards Dining, but he does take some damage and has to retreat back. No real map control being contested by G2. They're kind of just letting VP take this space.
You get really creative on your roams on Chalet too, right? I mean, look at Shaiko and Doki. They're doing two totally separate things on this map, and they necessitate a response from these attackers. So I do like the intel ops being brought from VP. It is a good response to G2's defender setup. It will put some hurt on these defenders if they don't have any salvation. And the big thing, obviously, is the lack of mute. Mute is the single greatest counter to these intel ops. It's not present on the side of G2. Alimau dies early-ish. A minute to go in the round. VP will strike first. That's Dan starting to heat up. And VP have now a nice, cool minute to work with this bomb site.
Yeah, G2 really didn't want to give up that first frag, but there it goes. Finally, a mistake gets made, and VIRTUS.PRO will punish. Time is ticking low, though, and you've still got good utility on the side of G2. 2 Nitro cells, 1 from Benja, 1 from Stompin'. The Blitz looking to jump over, but shoots the cam first. They've got good player positions, and the Nitro answers, though.
And look at the spectating. Dear God, I couldn't imagine being one of our observers at the moment because G2 is doing laps around the map. Nako dies to the Nitro cell, and that was the re-aggress up blue stairs. Limited time now for VP to work with, and they've lost one of their best tools, which was that shield. They've got a good idea about the Kaida Benjamaster inside a back bar. They've got to cut through a bunch of players in the process. They'll do some serious damage through the wall. Dan buying himself some time and concealment from that fire extinguisher. The smoke doing wonders to keep Doki at bay. Dan wins the duel, slaughtered by a trade. There was a hail of bullets there as Shaiko holds off the bomb site. Everybody dying, and it's all up to Benjamaster to clutch out. Yorick and Benja in a 1v1, and the Dane will win it. G2, a terrific round. My.
G2 holding strong there in the late round, Parker. They waste so much time early on, right? And that was the big thing, is they weren't fighting VIRTUS.PRO early. They let them have the control of Kitchen. They let them have the control of Master. They let them have the control of Piano. All of this space was being taken by VP, and G2 were scared to challenge it because of how the previous round went. When they tried to get aggressive in round number 7, it bit them hard. And even though VP still got that opening pick, it took them so long that eventually when they got to that execute, G2 had really good trade trade games. You mentioned it. The movement was crazy. We saw rotates up the blue stairs, down the blue stairs.
I was getting sick.
Back through basements. We watched Dan just outside of the game's door fight a guy on that blue stairs, or on the snow stairs, I should say. And even after he gets the kill, a second guy comes barreling up that staircase, and it makes things really awkward and frustrating for VIRTUS.PRO, where they just don't know where to look in these late rounds. The time is ticking down. Things are getting chaotic, and G2 did a great job of clutching things out, even in that 1v1.
I mean, you still have 4 players left, but you lack enough map control to hold these crucial avenues. How do you allow G2 to retake blue stairs when you've got 3 of your players on that same floor? It really is quite outrageous, and speaks to VP being maybe a bit too static with the way they wanted to go about that site. It's entirely possible that they mismanaged the clock. They thought that they would have more time. They ran out of opportunities. Dan was holding down lobby. He knew there was somebody downstairs, or if he didn't know, he certainly had a very good idea that there was somebody downstairs. And ultimately, VP just cannot win a brawl. And Mr. Masters in Messology, when there's 8 people still alive and there's only 20 seconds left on the clock, you know it's going to get chaotic. There's no, even auctioneers can't talk fast enough to give that information so that you can turn on a dime and shut down your opponent. So kudos to G2 for the way they rode that one out. They called a timeout, which is a bit odd after winning the round. And to their credit, G2 have won 5 of the last 6 rounds. So they don't seem like they're in any trouble, but clearly they want to send this one away. And why not use your timeout to center yourself and send us over to map 3.
Well, I wonder if Ramalho wants to see maybe a bit more aggression from G2 in these early rounds, because again, sometimes those early plays have been a little bit scared on the side of G2. VIRTUS.PRO are really good at shutting that down, but if there are opportunities that Ramalho is seeing for G2 to get a bit more active, that could be what he's calling this tack timeout for, to try to encourage some of that more aggressive play. We haven't touched on it yet, but I just want to say quickly, of course, G2 going for the double shield ban up against Nako. Through 18 attacking rounds before this game, Parker, he had 17 shield picks, and he's been on nothing but blitz this entire first half. Expect the blitz ban after this round, and it's going to put Nako in an awkward spot where he'll have to play an operator that he's not really used to. That is anything other than a shield op for these next few rounds.
Do you believe there will be a shield ban? Because they didn't ban the blitz. I
think Chalet's a different ballgame than Bank. I expect a blitz ban after this, yeah.
Nako has looked a lot better on defense than he did on attack. There is a possibility here, and I don't think you're wrong, but there is a possibility here that there's another operator that they see as more problematic that they could get rid of. For example, Thatcher has been a staple for this VP team. Seems like an odd ban, but if he's a major enabler for them, they'd have to respond with what? Either pocket EMPs, which will mean changing different operators, or going for a full clear, potentially underneath the bomb site. There's lots of options here for G2, and frankly, it's good that they're in this comfortable position because they have the availability to pick who they want to ban. It doesn't just have to be a shield, though I think Blitz is probably going to be the choice, to your credit. Benja taking care of Skies, and there's the Blitz we just talked about. Nako marching in, dealing with the Kaid. This is reasons why I think the Blitz might not be banned, Jesse. He has really not been the most successful on that role the last 2 rounds. He's got control of Diffuse Kit inside of Dining Room. Benja almost breaking double digits. Shaiko very close as well. Don't count out VP. Maybe count out VP. They're just down to Rorik now as G2, as I said that. Got a whole bevy of kills. Doki and Rorik now in a 1v1. Rorik holds the Diffuse Kit. Doki's got control from above, but Rorik doesn't seem to know where he is. Doki gets the read. He'll rotate over around towards the hatch, worried about Rorik falling off. Surely Doki saw him, right? Rorik attempting the fake. He'll go back on, now off. Doki can play time. He hears the sound call. Absolutely. Forcing Rorik off of this position. Rorik already had a clutch over on Bank. Can he get the job done against Doki? Looks like he's going to stick this one. Falling off at the last second. Doki wins it. My goodness, sometimes it is that close, and G2 moving to map point.
It's never easy for G2 fans, is it? My God, clutch after clutch, but they get it done in the end. Doki masterfully playing with his food just up the hot floor, Parker, making sure that he baits that sound a little bit, fakes like he's going to go for a drop. You see him sprinting. He's trying to pull Rorik off the kit. He can't do so. He was on such little HP, Rorik, so it was really tough to play that, unfortunately, from down below, despite how good he was breaking into the bomb site.
The impact could have killed him.
Yeah, the impact absolutely could have, but unfortunately it was a little bit off. Didn't matter in the end. Doki goes for the drop, wins that 1v1. You got to give a lot of credit to Benja as well, I feel. Doki wins the clutch. He'll be the highlight player, but Benja did so well in the early game. They were worried about an Electroclaw trick. You saw it from Rorik's POV. He was waiting for the Electroclaw, waiting for the Electroclaw, waiting for the Electroclaw. It never came. The wall opened up, no problem, but that's because he had TCSG in hand, and Benja hit some beautiful shots on the blitz and on that opening frag as well to give that massive man advantage over towards G2. That prompted you to say, maybe you can count out VP. We couldn't, but in the end, they get counted out nonetheless by G2, and they'll earn themselves 3 opportunities to win this map.
And not to denigrate Rorik's success and contributions there, Jesse, but that's exactly what I was talking about when I said impactless kills. Rorik picked up, what, a 3K in that round, and it was all for naught. He gets 3 kills, he draws to a 9-9, you say, wow, he must have had a good match. Unfortunately, those 3 kills did not end up influencing the round result. It got them really close, but the impact is often measured by the conclusion, and the conclusion was G2 winning the round. So you can pick up 4 kills in a 1v5, but if you lose that 1v1, people are going to say, wow, that was a great opportunity, and sure, they'll share it on socials, but G2 still walks away with the round. They almost ended up losing Shaiko there as he threw a Razor Bloom over towards Mudroom. Dan firing away. The Ying on the board has now been made aware of for G2, so they're going to need to bunker down on this top floor bomb site and worry about the Candelas.
Yeah, there's a lot of players off site. Stompin and Doki both down below, but this could be a rush from VIRTUS.PRO if they are feeling it. They've still got some players over on the piano side, Pasha in particular still over there, but look at these balcony players now. Rorik and Sky is ready to make things exciting here on the office doorway. Benja will have to be sharp if this does end up being a rush play, and here come the Candelas from Dan that might signal a start.
Vault in, potentially, there it goes. Candelas go off, they've ultimately blinded themselves. Adrenal Surge 2, Doki taking damage, Benja taking damage, VP absolutely dominating, but hold on, it's the S's from G2, Stompin and Shaiko working together to completely throw VP off of their momentum. The groove is gone, and it's a 3v3. That first minute of action so good. Down goes Ali Mal. The advantage swings back in favor of VIRTUS.PRO. Shaiko and Stompin will need to collect every kill in the round. Make that just Stompin at this point. Dan down by the Razor Bloom. Stompin working away, but it's a nice kill from Nako as they actually trade. Only one player ultimately survived that wasn't downed on the side of VP, but hey, they'll take it. VIRTUS.PRO sticking around for one more opportunity, potentially 2, as G2 still sits on map point.
It's a risky gamble to call for a rush right when your opponents get onto map point, but VIRTUS.PRO play those odds, and it plays really well for them. I'm shocked that they think Rorik was able to get that opening frag in the midst of it. On my screen, that was full white. I don't know how he's finding the head in the midst of that chaos, but he managed to do so, and it starts things off on the right foot for VIRTUS.PRO. The other thing with that rush is it wasn't everybody just straight into the bomb site like you often see for some of these teams. Instead, Pasha was all the way over towards Games. He was kind of pressuring those roamers as his teammates were hitting the site. And Nako, the man of the hour, the guy who hits that giant multi-kill, is actually coming in through Solar. He's playing those windows on the north side of the map, which really start to favor VP and start to apply that extra dimension that sometimes rushes miss inside of Rainbow Six, right? You see the Candelas come in, you see the Thinker walking your way, all your eyes are going to be on that side of the map. So when there's a backstab creeping through the other dimension, it can be devastating for the defenders.
Structurally a good round by VIRTUS.PRO. Do keep in mind when G2 called their timeout 2 rounds ago, VIRTUS.PRO is also allowed to talk to their team, so it's not just G2 who can settle things down. And there have been teams that have openly spoken about why they don't take late timeouts, and it's because they know their opponents get an opportunity to work through it too. You don't necessarily want to let your opponent back in the match.
I will say as well, Parker, we've been talking about Nako, the perma shield main throughout this matchup, and as soon as the 3rd shield gets banned, he hops on a gun and drops a 4K. I'm a little fearful for G2 that you may have just unleashed the beast, as now Nako, the hard support IGL, has been forced onto a gun, and he might just be the most deadly player on this team.
You were absolutely correct about the Blitz ban. I will say you were right. I know that that physically hurts me to say, but it is the truth. You cast or cursed him, Jesse.
All right,
Doki goes for a swing. There goes Nako, and with it, VP now need to hope that the round hasn't gone into the unreachable position. Rorik doing some damage, Doki taking even more. He's up to 12 kills. A deceptive game for Doki. Rorik still posted up in this position. We'll get Ali Mal. Why are you swinging that spot? They might be feeling themselves on the side of G2, and you do have some extra runway to land this thing, but why give your opponent any breathing room here. Down goes Pasha into a nitro cell from Benja. G2 will regain the numbers advantage.
He was trying to bail out Doki, Parker. He's all on his lonesome over inside of office, and he's still here, unfortunately. I mean, hasn't really been bailed out to any extent. They know his exact position, but as long as Doki sits still, there's really nothing that they can do to force him out. They've got a couple of bits of utility. One nade on Rourke is probably going to be their best tool to push this guy forward. They know he's just playing the half wall. This is so tense from Doki. His moment has to be chosen perfectly.
Dan holding that defuse kit, waiting for G2 to swarm him. Doki gets yet another. Rorik dies. Nade just rolls away. Doki still surviving. Dan taking damage from the Razor Bloom. Stompin' and Doki will now compete for this kill. An excellent position for G2. They ultimately choked the lead against Twisted Minds in that fateful third map yesterday. They are trying to prevent that here, but now 2 quick kills from VP with still plenty of time has made this way more winnable for VIRTUS.PRO.
Yeah, I mean, both Alamau and Stompin kind of died trying to protect Doki in the midst of that. I don't know that he needed the help. Did so much work on his own, but because so many players tried to reaggress onto that side of the map, Parker, it's now just a 2v2.
I would be very comfortable with these 2 players still riding it out for G2. Benjamaster and Shaiko hoping to make VP look a little silly. They've managed to put it just in the hands of Skies. Diffuse kit, he'll drop towards lobby. G2 can just watch these doorways and there'll be no hope for VIRTUS.PRO, especially since Skies has given his position away. The Ying marching in, Shaiko the final kill, and we will go to a third map. You're never in danger until you lose at home, and both of these teams win their maps, setting us up for a best-of-1 showdown on Border coming up next. Do or maybe die tomorrow, I suppose, is the stake here, because neither of these teams are in jeopardy of going home. What is at stake is a spot on the main stage come Friday. One of these two teams will qualify for the main stage, joining FaZe Clan and Twisted Minds after this border shootout. One map to ultimately determine which of these teams is better. Now, I will say, I think both still could make a very good shot at qualifying no matter what happens here.
Yeah.
But VP are going to look for some revenge after falling 2-0 to G2 during the EML kickoff.
Yeah, it's a big revenge arc for VIRTUS.PRO, of course, wanting to topple their regional rivals in G2. It's also a bit of a history-repeating moment for G2 because just 24 hours ago, they were denied a spot at main stage in an 8-7 slobber knocker versus Twisted Minds, and that was on Cafe. So you're kind of worrying right back to where you were, Parker, where it's like, is this going to happen again? We've seen 3-map series that will go long, that will make things very awkward, and G2 need to be sharp in this matchup so they don't have the same thing happen again. They cannot choke it at the last mile.
And I was worrying what we were seeing on Chalet that maybe history would have repeated itself, right? For the longest time, G2 was in control of that Cafe map against Twisted Minds. Ultimately goes to overtime. G2 wins the first round, then drops the next two. Every time G2 was in a situation to capitalize yesterday against Twisted Minds, they were unable to do so. Now, that hasn't been the problem here against VIRTUS.PRO, but Border is a very hectic map. In fact, Border has a lot of comparables to the map we just watched of Chalet. Lots of soft destruction, lots of vertical play. You can get shot through an abundance of walls. There's going to be a ton of action outside of the building, which is something that happened an awful lot on Chalet.
Yep.
So if Chalet is a comparable, doesn't necessarily mean G2's the favorite, but you're going to be feeling pretty comfortable playing on a tighter, smaller, more, I'm trying to think of a way to say, but it sounds like they're going on a date, but yes, it's a date. It is a date, technically, a date for the main stage here. I was going to say Hell in a Cell, but I mean, we overuse that so regularly. Last minute comments coming in from the coaching staff on both of these teams as, Jesse, we kick off our final map between these two teams. The community have supported G2 since the beginning. It bounced over towards VIRTUS.PRO ever so slightly, but you are now back in the pocket of G2. Will they be the third team and the second EML team to qualify for the main stage on Friday, or will VP stop the reverse sweep?
Starting on the attack will be VIRTUS.PRO. They have maybe the easier side here on this final decider map between these two squads. It was G2's choice on what side they wanted to start. They chose the defense, which I think is fine, just given how good their defenses have been so far at this tournament. Once again, both of these teams favoring their defensive side with around a 60% win rate on that defense, 40 on the attack. It's close for both. The Azami ban makes a lot of sense. Often on Border, you'll see the Azami ban get paired along with a smoke just to really shut down any East stairs pressure, but that's fallen out of favor a bit over the last couple of months. It'll be a mute instead, so still kind of an operator that can hold down those East stairs, but now without those jammers, you're opening up the door for a Dokkaebi. You're opening up the door for a Snake. You're opening up the door for a Grim even to come through if you hit those Bs. So there's some really good intel operators that could make an appearance now for VIRTUS.PRO since they banned out that mute.
Absolutely, and I mean, with the intel ops, we've been harping on mute quite an awful lot, moving through all of these maps. It'll be interesting to see what value they can get here with those ops. And immediately, Rorik is going to pick the Deimos. I don't know if they'll open up any other opportunities here. G2 getting rid of the Glass, which is a terrific operator for this map. Lots of good Glass spots. You can put quite a bit of pressure over on security. You can work that vents balcony outside. He's great on all the bottom floor maps. The window into vents, the other vents, by the way, since there are two spots often known as vents on this map, and also the vending machine window leading into that bathroom teller's bomb site on the right side of your screen. A great operator, able to do so much, and more importantly, is able to empower other ops. We talk about shields and how they need some kind of escort or accompaniment. Glaz is a great operator to do that and allow somebody to work with those shields. And of course, without the Monty, any shields brought by VP, well, they're going to have a little bit more difficulty keeping themselves safe. No blitz on the board for Nako, but he will be running shields pretty much every single round. And we'll start with the Blackbeard.
Clearing up some of these Razor Blooms already is Dan here on the Twitch. Usually Shaika will play the Legion here on the top floor of Border for G2, so it's interesting to see that getting changed up a little bit from when we saw G2 play this map back during kickoff. think a little bit more of a modern take. The Thorn is towards the Legion. Pasha, okay. Just testing the bricks, making sure they're all up to code.
No
They're
gun
withstanding
jam.
the bonus.
No gun jam.
Everything is working fine here the first round. That's good to see. And we'll get this front door shot open relatively quickly. It is an east stairs pressure as well coming through. Doki was on this position. Shaiko was here earlier as well. So you can kind of get aggressive on this side of the map if you're hungry for it for G2. But no hard hold with that as zombie ban.
Look at that wall open now, as this is a pretty respectable roam from G2. Very standard stuff. You've got that highway leading from Fountain into security. You'll be able to watch those windows. You can also govern break room. There's a lot that you can do with this. Stompin will have some support from the Mira, a Benjamaster. Early bit of contest now, as a nade likely intended for the barbed wire, but just out of reach of Stompin. I don't think the operator was the concern here, and there goes some of the floor as well, as now goes a flash. Stompin tucked into this corner. And
what?
No right to win that duel. Nako will want that one back, and Jesse, that's also case control.
This is just stomping things, man. Sometimes he takes impossible situations and still walks away with a gunfight that goes his way. Ridiculous stuff from Stompin. I was surprised to not see him on the Aruni, but with the Vigil, he's able to be a little bit more secretive, a little bit harder to pin down, and he gets that frag onto the Blackbeard, partly because of it. Now it gets awkward from VIRTUS.PRO. Your spearhead is gone. How do you take space inside the building? You can try with the bees, but it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, so they rotate a few players over towards east and try to find an entry elsewhere.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough one to wrestle that control away. Stompin deciding to go for broke. I mean, this round has also flown by, Jesse. 40 seconds left, just under that at this point in time. Here come the gadgetry from VP to isolate these players. Beautiful shot onto Stompin, tucked in behind some debris on that banana portion of the map. And now push up towards the mirror window. Once you get security, that's the problem with that little rotate, right? You've got so much control over Fountain. Shaiko gets pounced upon. VIRTUS.PRO have turned this one around. They suffered the first casualty, but here comes G2 off to the races. Benjamaster, sensational play, reducing just VP to Dan, and Doki will send round one into the G2 win column.
One of those rounds that maybe looks close on the number count, Parker, but I truly think G2 were in control start to finish, and it's all because of Stompin. Even if he doesn't kill the Blackbeard there, he wasted 2.5 minutes off the clock. A ridiculous time burn for G2. So sure, VIRTUS.PRO, they got kind of a free pick in the midst of that to be in a 4v3 advantage, but I honestly don't think it was ever in doubt that G2 were the favorites through that round. Even without the numbers advantage, it just felt like there was no time to make that play happen. They kind of collected themselves inside of open area, inside of office, and that would be a great place to mount and execute if you had any hard breach, if you could actually get into the site from there, but they were all funneling in through a few doorways. The players on G2 at the end there were really good to close things out. Benja and Doki, excellent in that one, but despite just getting one frag, I think Stompin the MVP for me.
Oh, absolutely. And he's had a very, very good series so far. Unfortunately, Jesse, your fun fact has broken.
No.
Stompin went negative on the map of Chalet that just followed this. So the first time that Stompin has yet to go even or positive. And I got to say, it's going to happen to everybody.
Of course.
Eventually, you are going to go negative on a map. You are playing up against the best teams in the world. Eventually, you will have your number called by your opponents, but still quite an impressive run from the youngster. And the thing about Stompin is he's only going to continue to improve. He's already a terrific player. Watching him grow has been quite a treat. This G2 squad flourished without him. Sometimes you don't need everybody to go positive.
That's the key point, right? I mean, G2 are a team that don't rely on Stompin. If things are going really well for them, Stompin often won't be getting into those high advantage situations where he's in a 1vx where he can pull off some ridiculous clutches. Round one was a bit of an uncharacteristic one where he is kind of the first line of defense where he's getting aggressive, but that's just because the security position on border is so difficult to play and you want kind of your best player in that spot. This time around, Stompin will do it once more, but he's actually brought the Denari here, Parker, and he's going to hold it down not just with the trips, but even a deployable shield set up inside of security for him to play around.
He was playing some high-risk positions on Chalet on defense. Certainly not the case on attack. He was playing that farther back supportive style of operator. Here on border, though, he's in kill positions quite frequently. Security is a very important part of this map to hold. You will see either a Denari or an Ella playing on that table, controlling multiple avenues through that top floor. That is going to be Stompin's job. He is in such a strong spot, and if he's enabled, here it is. If he's enabled by his teammates, he can do some serious damage, and they've called called in the cavalry, but Shaiko missing all of his shots against Pasha, but one stop and trades him out. And the shield will now breathe down his neck as Nako will want back that previous round. Down goes Stompin' to Dan. Really good coordination here by VP, and they have the numbers advantage with a little bit over a minute to go.
Yeah, the clear's been perfect, and the intel continues to flow. They've got great pings coming through in Alamau, but it doesn't save them. Great shot from the captain of G2, equals the numbers at 3.
I'm not even on any of these teams, and I'm angered by the way that Nako's died 2 rounds in a row. Rorik will give the lead back to VP in numbers. Alimau and Doki yet to die through that first round. I don't know if they're both going to make it at this point in time. Alimau in the afterlife now. Doki 2-0. Top player on Chalet, a key part of why we are here at Border. But it's hard to win a 1v3 on this map. You are in such close proximity to the attackers at all times.
He just shot. That gives the game away, Parker. He's not on site, so it's free for Dan. Holds the angle and perfectly catches the one player left alive on G2 to equalize this map. A really good clear coming out from VIRTUS.PRO, Parker. When that bomb site goes a floor below, it really expands this map. One of the biggest reasons why this map can be so easy for the attackers is because you can take a lot of those fights from outside the building. You can force a lot of those early gunfights in your favor. And G2, they just weren't able to win some of them, unfortunately, right? It comes in from across the mezzanine. It comes in from inside break room. And whilst there is a nice frag from Stompin' in the midst of it, he gets traded out. He's only good enough for one. I love that clear coming through from the top floor from VP. You'd be forgiven not recognizing the bomb site was a floor below, but all the action top floor, and that will do it for VP.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen time and time again teams play in that spot inside of security with that Scorpion because you're always going to be engaging in relatively close quarters fights. The Scorpion is a gun where players have been able to get the recoil down well enough, especially since the horizontal recoil on the gun isn't as bad as it used to be, that you can win the occasional long-range duel. But you are best served using that bullet hose when they are right in front of you. Again, whether it's an Ella, whether it's a Denari, you've got that gun, and an Ella, great, because you can use the Guzman mines for intel and, most importantly, to stop shields. Denari working the same way with those tripwires. Stompin' will once again play the Denari. I don't know if that's the part of the map that he will occupy. It sure looks like it.
It will be.
But he does need somebody to help him out. You cannot play on an island here. Both times G2's had somebody backing him up to 50-50 success.
Yeah, well, G2 are doing something that we basically never see in Siege, Parker. They're playing the exact same site with the exact same operator lineup. This is kind of the reason why you don't see teams run back the exact same strat twice in a row, because it gets kind of predictable. They spot Stompin' inside of security. They punish maybe an aggressive move coming out from the youngster on G2, and one way or another, VIRTUS.PRO are able to clean up that frag. That's a devastating loss to come through. The one MVP that they got a round win from earlier will not be in play for round 3.
Yeah, Rorik's had some really big moments, winning rounds, almost winning rounds. The impact of his kills have been noted multiple times through this series, and I mean, that's a big pick to open up this part of the map, and it comes at a pretty good time. Now, Rorik's only going to be good enough for 1 kill because Doki shuts him down, and now it's Nako in pursuit. 2 rounds in a row, Nako has been kind of screwed out of his opportunities. I think that's fair to say. Both deaths from Nako have been befuddling. He's got 2, almost 3 remaining players of this VP squad assembled near him, fighting against Doki, who wisely falls off. Good clock management from G2.
Yeah, I like that drop. It's not a full commit from the roam game. Of course, Alamau and Shaiko still up here on the top floor, but Doki's position was known, so why stick around and potentially lose a fight? Leave it up to your other teammates who can make some aggressive moves. Shaiko in the hallway, playing with the idea, Parker, but I think just deciding that in the 4v4 it's not worth it. This is going to be favoring G2 as the time continues to tick down. They're not the ones who have to make the aggressive move. The drones will come out, though, and Alamau's in a difficult spot. He's got the hatch open to escape, but he has to be able to drop through it in time.
They know he's up here. At least they do now. Oh, Carl, you can't be doing that. He'll escape over towards security. He knows there's one over by the 90 position, looking through the wall, 2 technically, but Carl still frags so well. Benjamaster technically credited with that kill. That's the mirror getting in on the action. Nako takes down Alimau, but look at the time management. G2 in a numbers disadvantage, but with only 40 seconds left on the clock, this is more winnable for G2 than you'd think.
Yeah, but they've still got some good space to try to work things from, Parker. They know Doki's position now just inside of vents. If they can find one of these 2 isolated players, that can make all the difference. Thorn traps charge out, 30 seconds to make this execute happen.
Nako will drop on in. The Blitz will be under watch. Pasha shreds Benjamaster. This is a rough spot for Doki. He's on a tiny portion of HP. There's no way VP was losing that. It looked good for about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it did not look very good for G2. Big round for VP.
Really just good droning coming through from VIRTUS.PRO. This roam clear has been excellent to come from them. And you even go back to round number 1, Parker, right? If VIRTUS.PRO are able to take that security control, if Stompin doesn't get that crazy kill onto the shield player to start this map, they could have even been up 3-0 here in this execute. I mean, they were doing a good job of punishing the aggressive moves being played out by G2. This is Border. You have to play aggressively on the defense. I'm not saying I want them to rein it back in, but they've got to find some kind of an answer. Now, VP will ban this Mira, and I think the reason why G2 wanted to run that bomb site and strategy back for a second time was because they were worried about that. They didn't want the Mira ban to come through and not allow them to play that strat for a second time. Unfortunately, though, it is 2 for 2 for VIRTUS.PRO, and it just gets a little bit messy, I think, for G2 on the top floor. You know, Alamau is being chased around like a Monty Hill skit around the top floor of Border, just trying to dodge that blitz. He gets one great kill, but ultimately it is only so much that he can do. The top floor play not good enough from G2 on these roam games. They will reassess and bring the bomb site back up top, but when they go towards these 5th and 6th rounds, Parker, they will need different answers for the roam.
I'm a little worried about G2. You cannot roam as freely on this map, right? It is quite chaotic. It is quite claustrophobic. You said intimate. I do believe G2 and VP swiped right mutually, so they are now here together on a beautiful date on Border, looking at all the beige and sand-colored walls and all that adorn it.
It's not where I would go for a first date, but it's got a charm.
Would you swipe right on G2 or VP?
Oh, absolutely.
Which one would you swipe right on harder?
Ooh. I mean,
Don't answer that.
Okay.
Don't want to be called a biased caster. No, I mean it is a very small map. So because of that, your ability to rotate again will get caught. And it's something that we talked about on Chalet too. If you are playing in a portion of this map and the only way is to drop a hatch or vault over towards lobby, usually the attackers will have a line of sight there unless something has gone really, really wrong. And VP they're playing very close together.
Yeah.
They are playing very intimately themselves, Jesse.
Blitz banned out, so Nako jumps on the Blackbeard. This is what he brought back in the first round anyways, so it's not like he's had to adapt at all throughout this push. Trying to clear in through the east side of the map. This is again going to be where VIRTUS.PRO's focus is. It was Stompin that got that opening pick inside of security. He is being supported, of course, by Benja, just in that break room position. Nobody down below for Pasha to find, so it's really going to be on these players out on the balcony to try to find these picks, whether it's the Grim, whether it's some other big fragging operators coming through like the Blackbeard. They've got to be able to get these players out.
Oh, Sky's punished by Benja. We talked about what the mute ban would entail for VP, and they have used these intel ops, but they haven't really needed them, frankly.
Yeah.
On a map of this size, it obviously helps. It can really aid you, especially if you fear the roam, but VP will now have to do this round without the solid snake. They've got no intel really remaining outside of maybe, if you want to call Blackbeard an intel op, which I wouldn't, or the Twitch drones as well from Dan. But this might be just a dry execute from VP. At this point in time, the Dane just continues to shoot away. Rorik is gone. That's another from Benja. VP on the board. G2 seemingly cannot get more than 2 kills without an answer back. Down goes Dan at the hands of Ali Mao. This is a great spot, and all these long-range guns, 2 from a DMR, 2 from the TCSG, and Nako will find himself in a 1v4, taken care of by Shaiko. G2 will answer back and tie up the map.
Frags have been good from both these teams, Parker. We answer back and forth and back again. G2 tie us at 2, and you're right. It's those long-range weaponry being brought out by G2 that's really giving them the edge in some of these gunfights. The TCSG is not an easy gun to control at some of these distances, Parker. You've got to be hitting the head, but if anybody is to be trusted in such a role, of course it's going to be Benja. Just a beautiful round to come through from him. He plays that break room position. He's very close to stomping on that top floor roam, but man, he is so good when he needs to be. Alamau back on site with the DMR too, just so clean on some of those fights. And, you know, it's not complicated siege, right? It's not like we're seeing Glaz come through, obviously he's banned. It's not some Ying Candelas coming forward. It's not a bunch of shield play, even though Nako was here. He wasn't really a big factor in this round last alive. It's just coming down to these simple fights, and it's these simple angles that VP are pushing. They don't have the information. If that snake goes down early, those fights start to lean in favor of the defenders, and so G2, I think working that early pick on a Skies was a big factor for them. They keep that up. This could really start to tilt their way.
I mean, as long as you've got Stompin, Doki, and Benjamaster holding down the early moments of the round, you allow guys like Alimau and Shaiko to play those support/floater positions. And that's what Shaiko's been doing through a lot of this map. He's been floating. And I don't mean that like the Kobe Lax, like old Dark Zero, like we're floating. Like, no, I mean, he's playing this mid position. He's allowing Stompin, either enabled by Benja or Doki, as that was the case on those security defenses, to ultimately be empowered and trade off really quickly. G2 is usually a very good team at trading. VP, to their credit, have been doing a pretty good job as well. But Shaiko has not needed to be involved in a lot of these rounds. And unfortunately, all of his deaths have come when VP have been able to mob him because they so heavily outnumber G2. You saw what Shaiko was able to do from that floater position in the previous round. It was a very good kill to seal the deal. If he can stay alive, we can start to see his stocks rise, but do not panic, Shaiko fans. This is just the way that he's been used so far on Border.
Bet you weren't expecting the Kobe Lax reference in G2 versus VIRTUS.PRO, but we fit it in there, don't worry.
Somebody has a parlay, and they just screamed with joy.
Oh, boy. Well, Shaiko was close to getting in one of those early gunfights that we're maybe waiting for Parker. He was playing over in that east stairs, but as soon as he gets tracked by the snake, he says, screw it, I'm not sticking around any longer. Somewhat retaking the position now over here on east. You'd like to play this position again with the Azami just to block off some of these angles, but he's banned out, so he's over to his classic Legion. It's Benja. TCSG continues to ring out another pick from him on that gun.
And Nako has been on an island a lot of times, Jesse, and not like the good one sipping margaritas. I'm talking, he's stranded. It's Castaway. Down goes Pasha at the hands of Stompin, once again playing so smartly in this position. Scorpion in hand, over by security, death taxes, and, well, you know, exactly what I just said. Nitro Cell goes in, masterfully timed by Benjamaster. Down goes Rorik. Dan and Skies will look and survey the destruction of their team as barely a point of damage has been done to G2. In fact, I don't think a single bullet has landed from VP. I think that damage from Ali now is just simply Oryx crashing through a bunch of walls like the Kool-Aid Man. Down goes Dan at the hands of Shaiko, and now it's all up to Skies. F2 cannot compete. That floater position of Shaiko coming in handy. Flawlessly won by G2. A 3K from Shaiko. And it's G2 with the lead.
It's the new pickups, really, from G2 that are shining late here on Border, Parker. Shaiko with a couple of big kills, but Benjamin Dorelli, really the star in my mind here for these last couple of rounds from G2, playing nearly a perfect game with the TCSG, with the Nitro cells, holding the angles that he needs to, but not over-committing to put himself in a spot where he could go down. Benjamaster was dropped from this G2 team actually almost exactly 2 years after their devastating result at, I believe, the Manchester Major, where they got last place, losing to FearX. That FearX team, coached by Dark, who has just called attack timeout for VIRTUS.PRO now. So you're seeing kind of the old characters meet up in different ways. Benja has been so good for this G2 team since coming back from North America, and I think it's made a big difference on G2's game as a whole.
This has been a very smart play from Benja time and time again. And a lot of those kills that Stompin got early on was also enabled by Benja.
Yeah,
right?
True.
Can Stompin play as confidently in CCTV if there's no mirror window there with Benja there for backup? The answer is no.
That's a great point.
He can't. If a shield is going to hop in that window and Stompin is unsupported, that's a 50-50 gunfight. I would even say the numbers are worse than that. It's about a 30-70 gunfight for Stompin. And while he did win it on round number 1, again, in somewhat puzzling fashion to Nako, you've had Benja backing him up. We say this about some of the low fragging IGLs. We've said it about Alimau. We talked about it. Vidaking and Canadian were the two you used at the top here, so I'm going to bring them back into this discussion. But there are lots of times where you are funneling players to your other teammates. So Benjamaster, even though he is leading the team in kills, Benjamaster's kill tally could be even higher if he was the one picking up the kills and the trades that Stompin wasn't able to muster earlier in the round. So all told, one of the quieter players on G2 is having a huge impact here, and the success that G2 is having on Border would not be had without Benjamaster's performance.
That's a great point. G2 led 3-2 on Chalet, and it prompted a tack timeout from Dark on VP, and it didn't work out for them, Parker. It ended up being a 4-2 split. He's done it once again. If this also doesn't go the way of VIRTUS.PRO, you start to wonder about the effectiveness of these tactical timeouts. Of course, you always want to be able to get at least an even half here in Siege, but when you've got this mandatory timeout between the halves anyways, you always kind of question mark, right? It's only one round you're calling this tack timeout for, so it must be good. It wasn't in the second map. It eventually resulted in a map loss for VIRTUS.PRO. That's why we're here on Border to begin with. This is a really big gamble coming out from the coach from VP, and I really hope that they know what they're doing with this last call, feeling they must get the 3-3 split. The bomb site's gone back to Vent's workshop, and to be fair, this is the bomb site the VP have been dominating on start to finish, but with the Mira banned out, it's a new strategy coming out from G2, it's new ops all around, and they'll have a different approach to try to hold down this bottom floor site.
A minute here, and G2 now looking for some swings, looking to bring the heat towards this VP team. Doki needs to now be worried of what might be behind him. A missed opportunity from VP on that rappel will give Doki information that he uses wisely to scoot off of that position, shuffling back towards the bomb site. Shaiko will find kill number 1 on Disguise. Floating position, but this time involved in the fray earlier. G2 have surrendered control of office. Bomb site is down below, so now if you're VP, you've got to cut through that top floor. And G2, at roughly around the same time as before, have now decided to head towards that main floor.
Rourke want to lurk up those stairs, but he gets traded right back by Stompin' Parker. That's going to be one he wants back, unfortunately. His position just known at the end, and it's a good trade from the youngster.
You know, like when you're watching football or hockey or whatever, and it's like time in the offensive zone. I would love a counter as to how much of this map Stompin' has spent inside of security. Because I feel like it's a good 80% of the time that he has been alive. That is his office right now. He's doing big business deals, and business is pretty good at the moment. Benjamaster takes out Pasha. Benja involved in almost every single round in the kill feed. That is terrific again for the Dane, who's been quiet through much of the day. G2 does not often rely on him, but they are relying on him heavily on Border, and he is not letting them down. There goes Nako to stop, and Doki on the board, and G2 gives us a mercy killing for the final round of the first half. Well situated to close out this series, 4-2 the scoreline.
Bro, this guy walked that main way too below. Holy shit, bro.
Good job, you guys. I play so good, okay? Like, oh shit, I never thought, like, I would stress more, like, play Bank, Café, and sleep and play Modern Chalet, bro. Just like, let's remember our attacks, okay? Like, used to push, like, a counter bomb perfumation. We spoke about gonna Pantazam in the
Yo, Mike, yo, Mike.
Gonna Pantazam in the meter, okay? So, like, don't need to worry about the meters. And, like, if the smoke, like, is used, like, Zaki open on him like passport and Shaco just track the smoke to call push like the Tachanka, okay? Like even maybe like they don't have to play the smoke because they used to like to play the Tachanka, okay? So like I don't think they have to practice the smoke. Yeah, like not much talk, like just like him and their
we didn't do the Fury for Vents right yet in tournament, did we? Against the Mines?
No.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
But even if we did, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, Fury is good, bro.
But
I don't remember where I am.
me pushing customs with AS.
We changed the roles, remember? I think you were now. No, we changed. Yeah.
I push customs
Okay.
with
And
AS.
I'm army back with you, Carl.
Yeah, okay.
And if they don't ban Glass, we'll play Glass.
Yeah, and is Shaco break though, right?
For sure, like we have to try the most aggressive we can, but the play smart. Maybe you get some kills, we can give some space, and sometimes don't put your mind, I have to give this 5-3. No, if you're playing some position, so it's like you cannot back, just stay. Just stay. It's better you stay in your position than moving and you die for nothing, right? And it's that case. Now we can be full silence, just brief, let's play round by round.
Okay.
We don't have nothing more to say.
Fucking go, boys.
Okay.
Let's fucking go. If you guys want to check some dry hunt, remember this is the time. Let's go. Bora, guys.
East, Mont.
We do first default?
Microphone, Nikita, again.
Hello.
We can do this D2, depends how far it's open.
Yeah, if shits are open, we can go this insta.
Does he have to play shotgun? Yeah, I have to play.
No, you don't need.
On the Z, yes.
Oh,
You
wait.
the chunker. Yes.
But
Lots of discussion on the operator bans for both of those coaches, Parker. And Azami Mira ban promised by G2. Those are the exact ops they removed the other day. On their final map versus Twisted Minds on Cafe. So interesting if that does continue once more. And then Stompin, he says, I'm on the glads if they let it through, but VP will not be so foolish. They will ban Zach's operator and then waiting for this second result to come through for the attackers. Still a 4-2 deficit to make up from VP. Otherwise, just 3 rounds separate G2 from the main stage.
Closing in on our third team qualifying for Friday. Obviously, Twisted Minds did so against G2 yesterday. FaZe Clan also making their way up there. I would like to take some time now while we get ready for the second half to remind everybody that there is a B stream that is running. If you are watching this after the fact, know that there are elimination games going on the other channel. Los and Weibo Gaming is currently the series that is taking place on the B stream. They have a long day ahead of them. For us here, once this G2 VP bout is finished, we have a very exciting game that honestly, on paper, might just exceed what we've seen from G2 VP. The Aussies and one Kiwi, I now need to say this because I got an angry DM saying this is Kiwi erasure. I get it. As Canadians, we are deeply insecure when we get called Americans. I imagine New Zealanders are the same when they get called Australians. Enterprise Gaming will go up against Shopify Rebellion, Jesse. That one has all the makings of being an unforgettable best of 3. Let's hope that it lives up to it. That will come shortly after a break once this match concludes. But before then, will it be G2? Will it be VP? We do know that it will be an EML team. That's for certain.
Well, it's been a very competitive series so far, Parker. It looked like VIRTUS.PRO were going to run away with it, going up 4-0 on the very first map, but that was a long time ago now, and it's not in the backs of any of these players' minds. The only thing that matters are these next 6 rounds. VP trying to make up a 4-2 deficit. They banned the Snake for their second operator. That'll be a Benja target ban, as this is one of his favorite operators to play, certainly on Border, but throughout this tournament, it's his most played operator in Salt Lake City. So you're going to take that off the board, remove a bit of information here for G2, and what is kind of the strategy going to come out from VP? It's going to be this Castle Tachanka setup. Ooh. A nade kill in 2026. All right, didn't have that
Simple geometry, Jesse. That's all they did. They bounced it multiple times, and that heat-seeking nade lands in the lap of Skies. Skies has come crashing back down to earth after an incredible bank. Over on Chalet, he was even. He went from positive to even to deep negative. That is not the direction you want to go as this series tightens up.
Yeah, really tough to see from the Parisian, of course, playing his first international event in Salt Lake City, so you're hoping to see him bounce back, but it won't be in round 7. Now Dan in a bit of a rat spot. Shaiko pressuring through offices. Lots of different dimensions to this push, but it's all going G2.
And G2's taking quite a bit of damage here, so they've traded out HP consistently to do this to VIRTUS.PRO. What you don't want as VP is to lose your first round in a hurry. You have to show some fight. I know they've got that dog in them, but right now it looks like it's maybe still a bit of a puppy. Got to grow up a little bit. Pasha and Rorik, the only 2 still standing. There goes Shaiko. Benjamaster and Alimau also very low. Just as we said about G2 a number of rounds ago, this is more winnable for VP than it might first appear.
Watch out for this time, though. Minute 15, so much to work with still from G2. They've got all bodies around this bomb site. They've got good map control from top to bottom. The guns are very good from VP. I'll say that. 2 long-range DMRs, both the Tuber out and the Aruni. It will be all in the mechanics of both Rorik and Pasha to hit some brilliant shots to make sure that this one doesn't spiral out of their control.
The good thing for G2 is that they did all of this so quickly, Jesse, that they have time to course correct. And they have called a swap up now as they will take out on vents. Down goes Rorik. Pasha swinging over. They'll see him from the window. Target acquired. Oh my, there goes Ali Mao, but Doki will find the frag as the defuse kit was getting planted. 5-2 for G2. I fear for VIRTUS.PRO that this match is just starting to get out of reach.
6 minutes left. That's all it'll take. G2 really solid attack coming through on the top floor. It doesn't get cleaner than that, Parker. It starts with just a brilliant frag grenade. You said it. Of course, when those nades, they bounce off certain walls, that can make the fuse time a little shorter. Makes it a little bit easier to actually get a nade kill, which is, again, quite rare in 2026, but it was perfectly tossed out by G2 to work that first frag in on Skies, and then the man advantage just was never able to get clawed back. VIRTUS.PRO tried to get aggressive. They tried to go for some swings to get these numbers back, but much like G2 on Chalet, when they were in that disadvantaged spot, it was so difficult to claw things back, and unfortunately, unfortunately for the defenders here in this series, it's just not been so doable. Here's this nade bounce once again. You bounce a couple different walls. He runs the wrong way. That's a first nice frag coming in from Benja. And then here's the aggression, right? It's Dan trying to work a pick, but he's got so many bodies all facing his direction. When they're working with the man advantage, G2 are one of the scariest teams in the world, and they are showing that on border.
This has been quite the run for G2 over the last 4 rounds. Jesse, they've drawn first blood every single time. In fact, there is a 100% conversion rate if you strike first. So G2 drawing first blood 5 times, VP2, well, that's pretty standard stuff. But over the last 4 rounds, G2 has not lost more than 2 players in any of those rounds. In fact, they won so flawlessly back in round number 5, surrendering only 1 player in rounds 4 and 6. These are very dominant round victories. And while we did tip our hat to VP in the previous round, saying it's more winnable than you think, G2's not giving them much room to maneuver. VP are getting smothered at the moment. This is a rat play. How do they read that?
Wow.
Push on the ground, and Stompin will be the snake charmer as he gets taken care of. Rorik finished off inside of security by Stompin again. He saw that he went negative in the previous map, and he said no more. G2 now looking at 3 players to get rid of, and they'll sit on series point if they do so.
The teenager is done with these games. Doki will get one as well. 5-2 now. VIRTUS.PRO crumbling on all fronts. Nako 1 and 6. Skies 2. They're just desperate for frags. They get 1, but the round is done. G2 match and series point.
I'm sorry, you said 6 minutes. I think it might, if that keeps up, it might be a bit quicker than that one, Jesse. I think 6 minutes is being a bit kind to the VIRTUS.PRO guys. I think the body language says it all. There have been... I'll stop myself for 1 second.
Sure.
It is almost historically impossible to read the emotions on Team Empire through VIRTUS.PRO.
Mm-hmm.
When they're winning, no emotion. When they're losing, no emotion.
Yeah.
When you start to see emotion is when one of 2 things are happening. Number 1, they're getting the hell beat out of them. Mm-hmm. Or number 2, they're moments away from winning a championship. So the fact that we are starting to see the look of defeat creep into that team, I feel they know what's coming. And unfortunately, a lot of these games are really determined by your mental.
Yeah. And listen, I don't know if there's a new championship that's being given out for the first team to lose twice in a row to G2, but I don't think they're on the verge of any sort of championship here.
It's not a trophy I'd want.
No, not one that VP are likely to be hunting for, but it seems like it's coming their way no matter what. They've got to be perfect for the next 4 rounds and win overtime if they want to be able to secure this victory. Again, they are not out of the tournament with a loss today, Parker. They will play tomorrow with one last opportunity where they make main stage or go home, but they want to avoid that. They can't be in that position if they can at all help it. Here comes the defense. The bomb site remains on the top floor. The castle barricades remain. Much is the same for VIRTUS.PRO from what we've seen from them back in that first defensive round. How will the approach change, though? What can they do differently to stop these brutal opening picks that have come through from G2?
And both of those picks coming so fast within the first 40 seconds of each round. In fact, as of this exact second, it is now the slowest round for G2 on attack. The kills coming at 2 minutes and 25 seconds, 2 minutes and 22 seconds still left into the round. Those are eye-watering numbers. I know that we like to dog on VP for being a little bit too slow, but it really is quite a point of comparison here. How diametrically opposed these teams are in the way that they take these attacks. Dan hoping to catch Shaiko at that window as Doki is in, gets Nako. Nako has had a disappointing 3rd map. They rely on him to do well. Dan will get Shaiko. As there's the Scorpion inside of security, moved up to the break room door. Rorik was hoping to give VP a leg up over G2, but it slips through his fingers. They might get one under the Wamai, and they will. Dan taken out by Stompin. There goes Doki. Neither of these teams able to shake each other. That is good for VP.
Another one back. Rorik is moving some life over towards VP. They've got a man advantage for the first time in this half, and that could make all the difference. Alamo and the Shield doesn't really have the opportunity to bring the gun out either, so it'll be just Benjamaster, the Danish terror here for G2, returning to his old team, trying to close things out against VIRTUS.PRO. He'll take his time, get back up with his captain, make sure that he can play around Alamo. You don't want to take fights, but hey, if you're taking shots like that, maybe you do.
Team captain and IGL will now need to clutch out in a 1v2. This will be a tough go of it. As you pointed out, Stompin and Ali Mao entered this series as the two highest rated players with identical stats across the board. That is something you don't see all that often. Ali Mao has struggled to go positive in most of his events, but I mean, struggle might not even be the right word here because, again, his deployment does not need him to go positive. Usually IGLs tend to be at the very bottom of the scoreboard. Spiker's never gotten that memo, but pretty much every other IGL has. The feeling that Ali Mao might just be dragging this one out as he's now spotted inside of Archives. And yeah, there we go. Two separate players all hunting for that final kill. Pasha will get it. VP stays alive for at least one more round. G2 still sitting on series point.
It's a messy, messy round, Parker, but it's at least one that goes in the win column for VP. It's good enough to get them another chance here on Border. 6-3 now the score. G2 still started things off really strongly, Parker. I really feel like the gunfights, on the new players especially, have been brutal for VIRTUS.PRO. You talk about some of the newcomers onto this team. You talk about Skies, you talk about Nako, you talk about Rorik. How many kills do they have between them? It might be up to 8 at this point, but for the majority of this map, they have both been around 2 or 3 kills apiece. It's been really the veterans of Dan and Pasha who have been keeping VIRTUS.PRO alive in this matchup. You can't just win a game with 2 players fragging out, especially not a game against G2. Of all teams to be going up against, this is not one where you can just string along with a few players fragging. Everybody needs to get involved for VP, and that has to be the moment after round 9's win where everybody else starts to get more active.
And Nako went 4-8 all the way back on map number 1, but still provided a lot of value, particularly on attack.
Yep.
Map number 2, I don't want to say he carried the team, but he was certainly doing a lot better. Second highest EPS on the team. He went 9-8 and is now 2-8. So one thing that is consistent, A, he's always going to play shields, and B, he's going to die 8 times in all 3 of the maps. I mean, obviously you don't want that number to creep too much higher. I suspect it will, no matter what happens. And if G2 ultimately wins this contest, there's a high likelihood that Nako's numbers are going to continue to get worse. But frankly, there's really nobody who's looked good on VIRTUS.PRO. I think right now the bar for VP has been fine for Dan and Pasha. Rorik,
this door is secured.
Even though he's 4-8, Rorik has had some decent rounds. And again, this goes back to the conversation we had on Bank. We talked about it on Chalet. Rorik can get kills that sometimes vary in value and impact. He's had less impact here in this particular round.
The last round was big, though. I mean, it gets Rorik off that double. That really does kind of give a bit of life over towards the VP. And now, facing 3 rounds in a row where they'll must go perfect, they go custom supply. All 3 of the bottom floor bomb sites are open and available for VIRTUS.PRO, but they will go to the one that most pros tell you is nigh unplayable here on Border.
It's because it is.
Yeah, it really is. It's a tough site to hold on to, of course. There is some good vert play, but holding security in and of itself can be quite the challenge. They will give that trust over to Rorik. He's a security player, the same position Stompin was in for the first 6 rounds. He has to be sharp playing with Skies up on this top floor.
This is going to be the quiet before the storm. The calm is here. Who will end up in the eye of the hurricane? Skies taken out by Stomp, and that's another opening pick for G2. So far, these opening picks, all but the previous round, have determined who ultimately wins. VP hoping that the trend line from the previous round will hold, but it's not looking good. Down goes Dan. If you remove Dan and Pasha from the equation, VP will struggle, and they've got half of that job done on the side of G2.
Yeah, you're really starting to clear out some of these key important players, Parker. Rorik, Nako, and Pasha, the last one's alive. Nako alone on the site. Rorik and Pasha now here on the top floor. They've got to be able to get active, but at what point do you call your shot? At what moment do you try to get aggressive?
Well, I think Rorik's figured that one out. Shaiko has him pinned down. It allows Stompin to post up towards the window. There goes Pasha, there goes Rorik. G2's already had a flawless round in this map. Will they do it again? It's all up to Nako as he gets away for the time being. G2 will clinch their spot, and a berth on the main stage is theirs. Let the world know G2 does not lose to 2 EML teams here in Salt Lake City. 7-3 on the 3rd map, and we will see G2 in front of a crowd on Friday.
The European champs are back where they belong, on the main stage where the lights get bright. That is where they stand the tallest. They couldn't get it done yesterday against Twisted Minds, but in an email finals rematch, they will secure the victory. VIRTUS.PRO, I think the light's a bit too bright for them at the end of that game. They fell apart towards the final few rounds there, Parker. A couple of the younger players on that team not able to secure it in the way they were hoping for, but in the end, they will have another opportunity. They will be back tomorrow for one last chance.
Well, this man right now in the front and center of your screen was quite honest about what went wrong with G2 yesterday, and I mean, there's quite a spotlight on him. Everybody on G2 has quite a spotlight on themselves, so there's nobody who's going to dodge that, but Doki top fragging and being the most impactful player on Chalet and Border, contributing an awful lot to G2's victory. VIRTUS.PRO, a good effort, and we may still see them on the main stage, but they'll have to qualify tomorrow.
There's an incredible amount of history in this room, Parker. The respect being shown between these two players. Not a lot of typing in the chat today, but of course, after the game is done, that respect gets shown, and we will see at least 2 ML teams on the finals.
Great discipline from G2, and it ultimately pays off. The third team to qualify. We've got more matches for you. Enterprise, Shopify Rebellion.